Give it up.
So, Dennis, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, welcome,
So,
welcome to my little YouTube show, my little YouTube channel.
yeah, I'm glad to be here. I've never
Yeah.
done anything like this, so I was wondering, like, you want to ask me some things, or should I just go with the flow, or whatever?
Well, I mean,
So,
look, basically, it's just two people, man, just chit chatting and just talking. But I, I'll so basically, I was meant to go to the trip in Peru into the Amazon, and you're a part of the tour, but
yeah,
I had to cancel it because of work. So I think
okay.
the trip was like the 12th of March, or was it the 13th of March? But
Um,
I had to postpone it for work and make it for the second. So I missed your trip, but
yeah.
that group of people continued. So yeah,
Actually,
tell me
one other girl also. Well, she was only supposed to, she was only coming for Wachuma, so after the fact of ayahuasca. So,
which
she never made it either, but didn't make it because of COVID, obviously. So,
yeah.
but anyway, so
So
so I wore my since you're Australian, I wore Parkway Drive. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're an Australian heavy metal band. So, so
I'm not
I
I'm
figured I'd
not
get that, and then I wore my traditional. I got this down
ah,
at
yeah,
Spirit
right.
Quest. So this was handmade by the Shipibo tribe, and they actually came down to Spirit Quest, and they sold us like
What are,
stuff.
what are,
So
what are they? Are they like the locals or?
they're I guess in Iquitos, Peru. They're one of the bigger, well-known tribes. Some of the people that we met were, I mean, these people like were barefooted and walking around, with like you were sent back in time because it seemed like you were hanging out with Indians. But the Shipibo people that came to Spirit Quest were a little more modern. But they
Yeah.
also like I've done research on other ayahuasca retreats down there, and a lot of the places work with Shipibo people. Now I don't remember if Don Robert and his family are descendant or part of the Shipibo tribe, but
Yeah.
not really
So
relevant
who?
there. But
So who's that?
anyways, so
That is when you said? Did you say Don?
Don Robert, he's the
Is he the
the
one
the
that passed
main.
away? No,
He's
he's not the one that
That
died.
was Don. That was Don Howard Lawler.
Right, right, right.
He started Spirit Quest. I think back in it was like 1995, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, he passed away or ascended. Um, it was I think
So
last year. So
what was his like what happened with him? How did he just pass away? Because it was because I found out about Spirit Quest because I follow Aubrey Marcus on
same here.
yeah, I
Yeah.
follow Aubrey Marcus on Instagram and listen to his podcast and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
I I wanted to do ayahuasca like probably from 2013, 2014 when I heard about it. And I'm like, shit, you get that. What I believed it was all about was just getting the experience to quite possibly go to another dimension and get to see the aliens. So I was like all in for it, but I didn't think it was just sort of available. So I just seen Aubrey Marcus one day, he like tagged Spirit Quest and I'm like, shit. And
Hmm.
within like say probably just more than 12 months ago he tagged Spirit Quest and I'm like shit, I found it, like this is the spot, I'm in, book me in, and went to go and book the trip. But yeah, I seen he went Don was alive then when he kind of tagged Spirit Quest in it, but the next minute he passed away. And
Yeah.
it just kind of weird to me how I think, something so traditional, something so sort of natural and in that habitat and environment, that if he had a disease or if there was something wrong with him, like, using the word medicine, like if he was a part of that retreat and always had the medicine, like how, like, unless he was suffering from an illness or whether his life just
Um,
from his,
I believe from what I remember, I think he had some, and I could be wrong, and the whole people down there, if they see this, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think he had some sort of illness with his blood.
oh,
Um,
right.
Pretty much, and it sounded like they did shut down Spirit Quest. I think it was last year, or maybe yeah, sometime last year for X amount of time
Yeah.
while he was going through the bad parts of his sickness, and I think it was I think they kind of, from what I believe, they knew, he was gonna pass on. I don't remember. Parker talked a lot. Parker channels him, in my opinion. I mean, he just, Parker's an outstanding human being,
Can I can
and
I can I tell you a funny story about Parker?
of course,
Well, after I sort of submitted my application and Parker replied back to me, I because its name's Parker, right? I thought it was a female.
mm,
So
okay.
in the email and in the application, like I semi flirted, and
Hey, he's a strapping guy, that's for sure.
but I didn't know it was a dude. I thought it was a chick, and I was just being I wasn't flirting like, but I was just like being cheeky. And
Yeah.
I just sent like a couple of emails back, and I'll be like, I just kind of said, oh, looking forward to catching up, like, wink, wink. But then next minute, I got a return email, and it was a figure of a dude. I'm just like, God.
That's great. That's funny. I've never heard Parker being a unisex name. Maybe that's just not a thing over here in the
Well, I
United
mean,
States. But
it's not, in Australia, I mean, look, America loosely has like, not loosely, but America has like a wide variety of your common names. Maybe Parker's common in America, but in Australia, to me, if anyone was called Parker, it'd be a female. Or,
okay.
like
Yeah, yeah.
Miss Parker on Friday, like that was a female, that was a black African woman.
Yeah, but that was her surname too, so it is a common surname, I guess. But that's a good way of
Yeah.
misconstruing, I guess. So
So,
no
so,
matter.
so with so when we had that group chat in the WhatsApp group, who was the guy? What was the guy's name that created it?
Gordy. Yeah,
Gordy. Yeah. Okay, cool.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. Well, I
pretty
love
much,
Gordy was.
so pretty much everyone went to the retreat bar or in that group, whatever. So tell me all about it. Give me a rundown. Tell me your first experience, Lars. Tell me how deep you went. I
Yeah,
really regret it, but yeah, I regret not going, but yeah, go in.
yeah. So just to start, like, in my experience talking about everything that happened, I don't know how much time you actually have, man, but I can, I've never
As long
sat
as
with
you
someone and yeah, I mean, I've been able to talk about it for hours on end, but I'll do my best and to keep it, whatever. Anyways, well, um, I mean, where do you want me to start? Like flying in myself, or just getting to the retreat, or meeting everybody? It's just
well, I mean, so basically, you were within yourself. You're on like your own sort of personal journey, and
yeah. So my
you had some fears as well before going into it. But I mean, look, you don't have to go too deep into your personal sort of side of it, but
no,
just
I
everything you
love
want
to,
to tell
because
them. Yeah, go.
talking about it actually helps me remember, and it brings me back there. And I relearn the lessons, and
Yeah,
it's something I could relearn. And I'm already being called back to do it. I know I am.
yeah,
I've had the calling again. So once this travel stuff, once all this nonsense stops, I'll be back in Peru
yeah.
ASAP.
As soon as the
Um,
borders open, I'm going straight there too. So.
exactly. So the ironic thing is, I was actually scheduled to go. I think I was almost. I could be wrong. It may be off by a day or two, but I was originally scheduled to go this month in
Yeah,
2020 September.
yeah.
Um, this was when I had my job, my old job, um, and all that, and I was already planning my trip down there. And then in January, circumstance having it, I lost my job, and so I just my my world got like flipped turned upside down, because I had been at this place working for over 6 years. I lived on site at the job, so it was like my housing was tied into the job. So I didn't only lose my job; I lost my house. So I had to like rethink my whole life pretty much in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so what I decided was that I would pack my belongings as much as I could into my car and go down to Florida where my parents are. And I called Parker, not called him, a couple emails, and I changed everything to March, because I figured, why not? I'll take a little time off work, and maybe this is my time to go work on myself a little bit and rethink my life. So anyways, like I was saying, I was supposed to go like today, but I think today was the day I was supposed to get on a plane and leave Colorado. But anyways, I ended up going to Florida and flying out of there on March 12th, and the retreat started March 13th. So I spent the night, or I spent like 4 hours in Lima, because by the time I got into Lima, and then COVID was already kind of going on, and it took like over an hour to get off the plane because they were scanning everybody with a thermometer. Getting through customs took about 2.5, 3 hours. So by the time I got to my hotel room, I slept for like 3 hours, got up, and then went back to the airport to get on a plane to Iquitos. So then that's when everybody met. So we were at the airport in Iquitos, and it was probably an hour before the flight. We all kind of started, because Parker sent that email, and we sent pictures of each other and whatnot. And me and you had already been communicating. Anyway, so we met at the airport, all of us in Iquitos, and got on the airplane together. So that's where the story essentially begins. So full knowledge of COVID going on. It was crazy getting into the country. I was kind of aloof to the fact, because I was just nervous, excited about what was right in front of me and going to happen in the next couple weeks. So
you used to drink, right?
I did, yeah. It's been
you don't
over 4 years.
So
over 4 years, yeah.
You've been sober for 4 years?
Just over 4 years, yeah.
You don't smoke cigarettes, you don't nothing? You don't smoke anything?
I smoke marijuana. Just usually at night, yeah. It just helps, just to sleep. And then I still dabble in psychedelics every now and then. I'm not partying, doing LSD and whatnot, but I will dabble. I usually space it out at least 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
But
so before you before you to have your first drink of ayahuasca, what was your biggest sort of internal fear? Were you a little bit worried about going back to sort of those not alcoholic days, but just use that word, not saying you're an alcoholic, but were you real scared with going into fighting those demons having the drink? Or
yeah, I mean, I think pretty much what I experienced was exactly what I was afraid of, and I think that part of that is because I didn't surrender my first night, but everything happened for a reason. I was able to purge a lot of negative stuff from my life.
So tell me about the first night then.
So you don't do it the first day. The first day we kind of just Parker talks to you all day and explains etiquette and whatnot. But the second night, you get everything ready and he talks more. And actually, the first day you help prepare the ayahuasca. And from what I understand is that Spirit Quest is one of the only places in the world where you can take an active and transparent role in preparing the ayahuasca as well. So they have you sit with the vines, and the shamans come over and you smash the vines yourself, and then they'll give you some of the other plants that go in with the ayahuasca that have the DMT in it and whatnot, and the active ingredients. And you smudge those with mapacho tobacco, which is wild sacred tobacco. And you're supposed to, be thinking about your intentions and all that stuff as you're doing this and helping brew the ayahuasca. So you don't sit there and, actually stir it up and sit there for hours. That's Don Robert's job, but you do you do play a role in making the ayahuasca, and that happens, part of day one and part of day two as well. So you go out day two before the first ceremony. We went out to the ayahuasca kitchen and where they were brewing it, and we do more of the smudging, taking the plants, putting it in the pot ourselves, and so that was one of the, other than Aubrey Marcus's endorsement, that was one of the big parts for me, was to participate. One, just being a human, knowing what was going in that stuff, I guess. And the other part, it just it just felt right.
Because I heard a
Anyway,
bit.
so
I heard a bit of a story that there's some pretty seedy sort of. There's some bad ones where they take advantage of sort of the tourists and they can rob you and they can do all this sort of stuff. But I think there was one person that died from a ceremony or something over there, and they were on the news. But they mix something with it. It's something that you shouldn't take, and it causes like a heart attack and that. So I mean, being able to be there to see it and prepare it would be a good thing. So you know, you at least no funky, weird sort of magic potion shits going in it, you know. But
yeah, it was just nice, and it was just nice to be involved in that. And yes, I have heard multiple stories. I mean, there's essentially thousands of places down there where you can go do ayahuasca. You could buy it in the streets of Iquitos, and you
Drew,
know,
no conspiracy talk here, but with all the current fires and stuff like that that's got ripping through the Amazon, do you reckon sort of government or elite government or someone's setting fire to the ayahuasca through there so people can't have these experiences, or do you think that they're doing it for other sort of, I don't know, greed purpose for the palm oil and stuff, or basically what I'm trying to say is I kind of see the fires through the Amazon, and I don't know whether the elites are just burning it so people can't get their hands on ayahuasca, because I believe that.
yeah, and I don't really follow news, any of that stuff. Really, it's just my personal choice. So this is honestly the first I'm hearing of Amazonian fires. I know about the ones here because it just happens in passing. So
Yeah.
that's kind of yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Is it like in Peru or
No, well,
in
just
other parts of the Amazon? But
so just basically throughout the Amazon, like for a while, like I'm talking over 12 months to 2 years, I've known about it, but I don't know
mhm.
I don't know if it's because they want the palm oil, right?
It
But
could, I guess it could be.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, if they wanted to directly target ayahuasca ceremonies, I mean, they're going to have a lot of targets to hit. It seems
yeah,
like.
I just thought to
Um,
myself, because I mean, you know, I'll just say this with sort of my sort of side of it, but I had a friend that came up to me, and I'll just say my little bit now, and then I'll let you
mhm,
just go balls deep with the whole thing. But basically, so last year, I think maybe October, I had a friend that was going to South America. He was doing a trip. He was going for like 5 weeks. Anyway, we went and done a yoga session, and he turned around to me and he goes, "I've got DMT." And
mhm,
you know, like you know yourself, that stuff like this, it comes to you, right?
yeah,
You don't.
mhm,
It comes to you. And
oh yeah,
as I said at the beginning, like in 2013, 2014, I wanted to go and meet the aliens, but from again seeing the sorry, hang on, actually no, my friend actually confronted me first with the DMT, and then I seen Aubrey Marcus's post with the Spirit Quest. So when
mhm,
so my friend's gone, oh, my package has arrived. I said, what one? He said DMT. I was like, holy shit, you've got DMT. I'm like, we're in. He goes, yeah, Friday night we're doing it. Anyway, I had no idea how to take it, didn't know what to do, and basically pretty much like scratched the surface of it and did not get any form of blast off. But you know, the everything changed, you know, like the sort of what they call it, fractals, sort of fractals and
yeah,
the colors, and
yep,
so kind of all
geometric
that stuff.
shapes and
Yeah. So anyway, the following week or 2 weeks later, he ended up going away. So that was my only one shot. And after that, I thought, nah, I've got unfinished business. So that's when I went on this sort of mission to book a
mhm,
trip and go. So last year at the end of November, I was meant to go, but I couldn't. The timing of it just didn't work. So then I rebooked it for
for
again
March.
for well, February, and then I had to change it. So I had to change it for the trip that you actually took place in, and then but then
Mhm,
I had to cancel it at the last minute. But I done an ultra marathon on the 1st of March,
mhm,
and at the end of February, I went and done a deprivation float tank, right?
yep.
So
I've been wanting to try that myself. So
yeah. So I was in the float tank, and I was floating around, and because I was doing the ultra marathon, I was visualizing the process of running, right, through the 50Ks of this event. So I got about 25 minutes into the float, and I kind of said to myself, I'm ready. Like, I've gone through the motions of completing this run, getting the medal at the end, going through the whole process. And the next minute I had a visual, and like, I'm up here in sort of in the sky or in the clouds, and then down below me is sort of like a jungle, which I can only presume was, you know, the Amazon or at least Peru. And instantly, like, I had this thought, and it was like plane crash, and it like, or something like that. And
Yeah.
I'm laying in the float tank, and I've gone, holy shit! Like, I've just thought about a plane crash in Peru, and then I started tripping balls a bit, because I'm like, well, if I run this ultra marathon and I cross the finish line and I visualize that, and then I go and take this trip in Peru, and I visualize running, like finishing the race, well, then that means I've kind of visualized potentially a plane crash, or am I going to die? And I freaked out. So
Yeah.
I started panicking, right? But the way I look at it now, because I changed the trip from the 12th until the 2nd of April, I look at that visual now and I go, well, fuck, that visual meant that if I would have went, I would have got stuck in Peru, because that's when they shut the borders.
Yeah, we all got stuck. I mean,
Yeah. So, but anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. But yeah, man, look, tell me about your first, the first ceremony.
Okay, so night one, I mean, for me personally, you know, preceding or after the ceremonies, we all discussed it, you know, the following day, but I won't, I don't really honestly remember too much about the other people's, but I do remember mine. So, you know, I won't delve into too much of the others' information. But so my first night was that day. We, you know, after hearing talks from Parker, you have lunch, um, and then you don't have dinner on ayahuasca nights, so you skip dinner. And after lunch, we set up the Maloka, which is where the ayahuasca ceremony takes place. Um, and they have these, like, you could either pick to sit in a chair, which kind of rocks. It's like a rocking chair. To me, that didn't. I just couldn't imagine, you know, being on any sort of substance and be rocking back and forth. It didn't seem right to me. So I grabbed a bunch of the little mats. They're like thin little mattresses, and there were so many of them there that we could all grab like 10 of them if we wanted. So um, I kind of like wanted, and Parker had said, like, so there's the altar where you go to drink, and that's where the shamans and Parker sit, and to the left of that there's like pillars that go along, and then behind that there's a whole big area, because they normally host larger groups than eight, like the eight of us, so we had a good amount of space and stuff, which was nice. um, but Parker said, you know, the first person to the left of the Maloka is the first to drink. I kind of just wanted to be that person just to get it over with. I
Yeah.
didn't want to sit there and watch I mean, I watched everybody anyways, but I just, not that I wanted to jump ahead of everybody. I just wanted to be the first person. I just wanted to get it done and go lay down and be ready for whatever. So anyway, so we all set it up after lunch, and then you have pretty much your own time from lunch until the ceremony started around 9 or 9:30 every night. And then they go till about 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning,
Mhm.
just depending upon, you know, I think it's up to Don Robert when it actually stops. So I was, you know, I was doing my best to stay calm and not be nervous before this, but it's almost, you know, your first time. I would say it's probably pretty close to impossible to not be nervous in
Mhm.
some way, shape, or form. Um, but so I go to the altar. We prepare, or Parker says to prepare your intention, you know, because your time at the altar with the cup of ayahuasca is like your time to speak to the medicine, or Mother Ayahuasca is what we call her. Um, and so I prepared, like, in my little journal that I brought with me. I meant to bring it up here with me so I could speak verbatim from it, but you prepare an offering, and then in your intentions, and then essentially you're supposed to surrender after that. So you do that with the intention of surrendering it all, um,
What was your
which
intent?
I basically, to be able to forgive myself. I have a dark past. I've done I've done terrible things in my life. not, what I would perceive as terrible. People have done way more terrible things than me, but just, holding in resentment for some of the things I did in my past, which is no way to live for anybody. That was my main intention, I think, and mostly, you know, for the reasoning of trying to become the highest version of myself to benefit everybody I can in the world. And that was basically my intention. My offering was unconditional love and service, um, to anybody and everybody who needs it. Um, so yeah, I sat there in my head and I smoked a mother ayahuasca before I drank, and Don Robert gives you this cup, and I mean he fills it up to the. Essentially, he says that the medicine tells him how much to pour.
Yeah.
He pretty much filled it up to the brim for my first night. So
Yeah.
I drink it, and it's like the first night I didn't think it was crazy bad. It's not by no means good, the actual taste of it.
Yeah.
Um, but I know it wasn't. It was bearable.
Everyone says, everyone says like they struggle to get it down, and it's like I just think how, you know, yeah, I just think how bad can it be? Just skip, like it's, you know what I mean? It's
So it stays in the Maloka throughout the whole week there. So by night ceremony 4, which is
yeah.
about 6 or 7 days later, it's been sitting there. That did not taste good. So
Okay. Okay.
so that was, and it was hard. By night 3, it was hard to keep it down. But you just do it. You just do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, night 1 was the easiest for taste wise and keeping it down. Um, so anyway, so I do my little spiel and I drink, um, and I go lay down on my little mats there, and everybody else goes around and does theirs, um, and then they go through and they blow out all the candles, so it becomes pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
And they recommend wearing a mask because they will sometimes turn on flashlights for people that have to go to the bathroom and stuff. There's helpers that sit outside the Maloka. Um, so Parker recommended wearing a mask, like a sleeping mask, just to keep that light because they will turn on the light sometimes.
All right. All right.
And it could take you out of your experience, I guess, which I could see that happening. Personally, I like have a problem with restrictive things, so I brought a mask. I tried it for a little bit, and I just wasn't feeling it, so I took it off and just kept my eyes closed most of the time. So anyway, so for me, it started. The first thing I noticed after laying down, and I'm trying to remember. I think I think the first thing that happened was purging. Essentially, you start to vomit, and they give you a bucket with a little bit of water in it next to you, um, for you to vomit in. So I remember, yeah, that was. I can't remember if it was. So I felt something in my teeth is where it started for me, and I'm almost positive that was after the purging. So my first night of purging was just violent, violent. Like the next day, some of the others in the group were like, "Are you okay?" Like when I came out that morning, because I was just, and I have like when I vomit, even on a normal, whatever, being sick, I tend to be like not intentionally but excessively loud, like so.
Over, over dramatic.
Yeah, a little, not like intentionally, but it's just like I have no control over it, I guess is a good way of putting it. I just like, I have to get what needs to come out has to come out. So it
So,
just got to get out of there. So
so the first night, all you did was purge.
no, no, no. So I'm getting there. I mean,
Oh,
that's the
sorry.
first thing that happened.
Yeah.
Um, After that, I remember laying down, started feeling like my arms and hands were getting lighter. But what I really noticed was in my teeth. It was more like, it wasn't like they were swelling, but I felt like pressure in my teeth. And the first night for me was so, I would say, on the negative side of purging. It was very brutal. Memories from my entire life coming up that were negative. Um, so it was more like memory based for me, but it was almost virtually all negative. It was like,
Are you
tell
still in like your, are you still in sort of like yourself, or do you do you disconnect yourself from your physical self? So if you're
I
just
feel
memory, are you reliving those memories knowing you're in your body, or you feel like you're completely out of your body and you just sort of like that conscious mind that's separated from, like, do you know what I
so.
mean?
I'll say this: each one of my ceremonies was pretty drastically different. So the first night was I didn't feel like I was out of my body, but I felt more so I was in the darkest part of my mind, but for the reason of purging those dark energies or negative energies and memories out
Yeah.
of myself,
So
or
do you,
being able to forgive myself, which was part of my intention.
so
Um,
do you believe that the purging released a lot of those negative thoughts and those bad memories?
Maybe not release them. I mean, I still remember them, but it helped me process them and accept them,
Because
so I can.
they say that the purge,
Um,
all of that coming out, all of the negativity is coming out.
yes, and the purge to me personally was a physical manifestation of negative energy
Yeah.
that came directly out of my body. Um, one of the gentlemen there, he had fasted for 7 days before. He purged just as much as everybody else. I mean, he fasted nothing but water and sea salt for 7 full days
Really?
before the, so he purged just as much as everybody else. So, in every way, shape, and form, I believe that it was just a physical manifestation of negative energy or whatever needed to come out of my psyche and or my body. It was just ayahuasca's way of turning it into something that can actually be released from my body.
Yeah.
Um, and let me tell you, you feel great. I mean, that night, maybe not right away after, but not to jump ahead, but the following morning after my first ceremony was the best I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
Physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It was just pure clarity for me. So, but anyway, so going back into the first night, I feel like I was more in my own mind. So, for the reason of reliving these memories or remembering them to learn lessons from them, like things that you shouldn't do this again, or just memory, just it's still there, but also with the intention of releasing them, or another way of saying that is processing it and accepting it, accepting my past, because the past isn't real, and neither is the future. And anybody that disagrees with that, they're delusional, in my opinion. So
Why,
we live in the moment.
why,
It's
why is your
I'm
past?
sorry.
Why is your past not real?
It just doesn't exist. It's something that's already happened. Um, it's just what we live in is the moment. It's the now. So um, the past and it's an illusion in our mind. So we being human beings, in my opinion, this is and this is all my opinion. I don't force it upon anybody, but um, uh, if the future is something that hasn't happened yet. So if we have an idea of what it is, it's just created in our minds. And with that being said, I do believe in like premonitions or whatever you had, but it was misconstrued by you for something else. You saw a plane crash, but in actuality, it was you
It
would have got stuck in Peru. So
wasn't actually a plane crashing. Like it was that's what I mean. Like it was like the thought of it, but not the visualization of it. Like as I said, like I was up here looking down at the Amazon, but it was
mm-hmm.
like the feeling. It was
Sorry.
like yeah. It was like that like I thought it when I was trying to piece it all together. I was trying to piece it together, and I was like, I'll let them go before I keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I live in an apartment complex. I'm up in like the lounge area, so it's other people can come up here if they want, but they went outside, so all good.
So yeah. So anyway, continue.
So yeah. Anyways, so I just want to go back and say that you know, from a certain perspective, I guess you could say, and me being a human being, I dwell in the past, and I am anxious about the future still, even post ayahuasca. So from a perspective of being in clarity, you realize that the past and the future is some sort of illusion. that we as human beings have created. Um, with that being said, yes, it is real. The future is going to happen, and the past did happen. So, um, just to clarify on that a little bit, I guess. So,
That's fine. That's fine.
anyways, so um, I forgot exactly where I was at, but so
You were telling me that you'll go. I just asked you the question of were you in your spirit, like were you in your physical body when you were having those thoughts, when you're
I
floating
felt,
those.
yeah, I felt. I'm sorry, I felt very physical because I felt tension and I felt, all the physical things we feel when we're going through something negative or a negative experience or memory. I felt sick. I was still purging sometimes. The most of it came at once, but then I think a little bit throughout the rest of the ceremony. But it was basically, I felt trapped in my own mind, um,
Did,
and reliving the.
did you get scared like you like out of the trip? That probably wasn't the worst, like the worst time in your actual mind, but either you want to answer this now or whatever, but in sort of in this experience, but like, did you feel like you lost your mind? Was there a moment when you gone, holy shit, that's it, there's no coming back from this? Like, because you enter that state of psychosis, and like even at that first night, did you go, holy shit, I've completely lost my mind? Like when you were going, reliving those.
Yeah, there was moments of, oh fuck, what have I done? Um,
Yeah, because
yeah.
everyone says that. Everyone goes, shit,
Oh
I
yeah.
overdosed, I've killed myself.
So yeah, in my personal opinion, I feel like yes, I had the first night was a complete death rebirth scenario for me. It ripped me apart, but it also put me back together. Um, you know, so Parker, that in his talking before the ceremonies, he tells you that, um, sometimes it gets overwhelming physically, mentally, whatever, and that don't hesitate to call out his name, and he comes over to try and assess you and comfort you and let you know you're okay. And essentially, this is what this Don Robert is one of the reasons he's there for is to help you control your energy and your connection to the medicine and whatnot. Um, so, and I was the first night and the only one and the only night it was too much for me, so I called out. Um,
Oh no, he's gone. I'll just pause it.
hey, I'm sorry, man. I don't know what I did there.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I clicked my earphone and I think it disconnected or something.
Oh,
Um,
but yeah, go continue.
so shit, I'm having brain farts here. Where was I then? So, oh, okay. So Don Robert. So I called out. So I said I'm like, for me it was like the point where it got too much for me was that I felt like I was going. Well, I felt like, I know this is impossible, but I felt like it was 10 to 15 minutes before I was remembering to take a breath. So I was laying there like going through everything. I'm sweating more than I've ever sweated in my life. I'm just like cringed up in the fetal position. Um, and finally, I just was like, I'm not really breathing that much. And I'm like, it felt like 10, 15 minutes would go by. And then I was just like, take a crazy deep breath. Like, so finally, I'm just like, Parker. And Parker was he was sitting pretty close to me, actually. So he got up and what he did was he kind of like, he grabbed my arm like this. The moment he did that, like, it grounded me again for a couple of moments. It just brought me back. Like, and he's like, "You're okay, man." I'm like, he's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, I'm having a tough time. I don't feel like I'm breathing. Um, he's like, "You're okay," And I'm like, I asked him what I said. I said, "I need my blanket," um, and I had left my blanket in my room, and I just needed. It felt like I needed something over me, for like just to make me feel grounded again. Um, they make those weighted blankets that are supposed to have the same effects anyway. So I was just like, I would really like my blanket. And he asked me what room I was in, and he went and got me my blanket. Um, and it helped for about probably 2 minutes. um, so I put the blanket on, and then I'm just sweating too much, and I'm just like throwing it off, and I'm just like, this is really probably when I lost the concept of the amount of time that went by, um, it just got bad again. And I think I don't even remember calling out again, but eventually I think Don Robert just knew to come over and assist me. So that's what Parker tells you. If you know if I don't come for you, then Don Robert will come over and perform a kana, I think it was called. It was just like a medicine song, which is what he's singing Ikaros throughout the ceremony, which are medicine songs. But I guess that's specialized or to help. Essentially, what I felt he did. So he comes over, um, and starts doing work with his chicapa, which is like a bundle of leaves that he uses for controlling energies, I guess. From my understanding, I could be wrong on that. But anyways, he starts doing it over my chest and doing his song. It sounds like chanting almost. And I mean, man, it was within moments. Like I was just brought back, like to being grounded. So to me, it was like he brought me out of hell, like because I was just
Is
not there. Um,
is that the, when you when I messaged you and asked you about it, but when you said to me, "Oh, you thought you were dying and you had to ask for help," was that time, or was there another
yes,
time?
exactly.
Okay,
No,
cool.
that was the only time. So pretty much, I felt like that was my death and rebirth, of my
What,
soul or my.
so what died? Your ego died, or your what is that what you experienced? The ego death?
I feel like it. It was yes, I did. But even
Well,
though
your
my
old,
my ego still exists, I'm a human being.
but I mean,
I haven't reached that perfect state yet. I struggle every day still, but I have more of a grasp on myself, I would say,
so,
ego wise.
so
Um,
what died? Like your old self? Is that what died?
Part of my old self, yes. It still exists in memory. It's still there, but I have better control of my ego or my egotistical moments or what have you. Um, I can't think of a specific example right now between like March and then, but you know, I still struggle with getting mad or road rage or shit like that. So like, but I'm able to just like calm myself more, not dwell on those things, or like if I mess up or fuck up something, I don't beat myself up as bad or go into these states of depression. I'm able to just process those things and stuff like that. I could keep going on and on, but it's just I wouldn't say I had a full blown ego death and now I'm enlightened. Um, I don't think that happens after one or even four ayahuasca ceremonies. It's
You only
you
do
know me.
4 or 6.
It was four,
You only done
four,
4.
and then four, and then two wachuma ceremonies.
Okay.
And I wasn't even supposed to do wachuma, but because of COVID, I ended up stuck there, and I paid the extra money to stay and do the wachuma. It was either that or go back to Iquitos and be of my own accord, which I was like, no, I'd rather be stuck here with you guys. So, um, so anyway, so yeah, so Don Robert, I mean, he like brought me back out of that. I just feel like he just brought me back into myself and out of that part of ego death that I was in, which was really tough. I mean, one of the toughest things I've ever went through. But after that, it kind of like just calmed me down to where I was in a state of just pure serenity. And I'm pretty sure, I don't remember, but I feel like I fell asleep for the rest of the ceremony, which so it was pretty uneventful then after that. But um, I did remember them lighting the candle at the end, which is the signal that the ceremony is over and you can go back to your room, or you're invited to sleep there if you like to.
So you
I decided,
so when you take this, like if you take, without going too personally into your own sort of experiences with any other drug, but just so I understand, but like if I was to smoke weed, maybe 3 hours, I might be like stoned sort of thing. But if I was to take maybe ecstasy, not that I ever have, but let's just say hypothetically I took ecstasy, I'm sort of off my chops for 3 hours. Like is ayahuasca like that, where you just off you like you're on it for an amount of time, or does it just stop? Because I just kind of feel that something like that, like if it's your experience and you're taking the medicine, i.e., if you want to call it a drug, which it's not, but how do they know it's your time's over? Do you know what I mean? If they're just going to do it. So what if they put the candle on and then you're still, like you're still off your head? Like,
Um, Honestly, personally, I believe that Don Robert, the shaman, he just knows, when everybody's energetic levels have come back to. I mean, in general, maybe from a scientific standpoint, it lasts about 5 hours. They say 5 or 6 hours, so 9 to 2 in the morning or whatever. But it wasn't precise on those times either. Um, I think Don Robert is just able to know when the time is right, and he makes that decision. He controls the Maloka and the ceremony. So um, yeah, that's that. But so that night it was just after he came and did his thing, and from my experience brought me back from hell or whatever, ego death. It just died out after that. I think I fell asleep. Then the candle came on, and I sat up for a minute. Just sat there and just kind of was just in awe, I would say, of everything. Um, I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel like I was in any sort of psychedelic experience or anything like that. Parker was still there. He kind of whispered to me, "You doing okay?" I said, "Yeah, thank you. I feel fine." And then I got up and went back to my room, and just kind of I used the restroom and laid down and fell asleep. Yeah. So I woke up the next morning pretty early. I probably only slept about 4 hours that night. I was up, I think, pretty sure I was up before everybody. And I went out to what's called the Sun Deck. And it's this big, like, marble platform with a land zone in the middle. If you've seen it, if you looked up Spirit Quest, pictures and stuff. Yeah. So I went up there and I just kind of stretched out and stuff. And I'm not like, I don't do yoga, so I don't know like yoga poses and stuff like that. And I'm not like a big athletic person. I should be. Um, but I just stretched my body out and what felt right to me, and kind of sat there and meditated a little bit and just listened to the sounds of the wind and the trees. And to me, I just like had this clarity and this understanding of everything. And I felt like I can hear like not something speaking to me, but like something just like teaching me things that, just simple things. Like, I don't know. And I sat out there and just for a couple hours and enjoyed that feeling. Um, and it didn't dissolve. I mean, I still had a great day with everybody, but it was just amazing. I can't remember. I can never remember in my life ever feeling that good as that morning. So, um, and then that day you take off. You don't do ayahuasca. And the next day you do. So the second day we just sit, in group. The group sits together and we kind of go over our experiences. You don't have to talk about it with everybody if you want, but everybody did. Um, the funny part was like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the following mornings. You do the flower baths. So in the morning when everybody gets up, Parker says meet um, outside of the Maloka. There's a little area, like a picnic area, and you meet there. And Don Robert comes down to do what's a flower bath, and he closes, I guess, because you're energetically pretty open. Um, so they bathe you with flower water, which is amazing. It's like smells amazing. It's river water. It looks all like milky and dirty, but it's amazing. It was probably my favorite part of the whole thing. like, and then he does more work with the Chicapa and closes you up energetically, from what I understand. Um, and so that's like the official end of the ceremony is that flower bath. Because it's closing you up to the energies or whatever, what have you. Um, so then the day, you just have the day with everybody, talk about your experience, and you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't really remember too much of the specifics from the in between days. I mean, all of us, we got along so good. We had our moments of, everybody had their downtime and did their whatever they wanted to do, journaling. There's hammocks all over Spirit Quest, so you can go like relax in a hammock anywhere. Um, but anyways, going to the next night, ceremony two, um, I just, I went with the same intentions, same offering. I didn't really change that up throughout. Um, but like, you know, as I was up at the second night, I had asked Don Robert, because Parker says you can ask for him to pour as much or as little as you want. Um, you can't have, he won't give you more than 1 cup until the third ceremony, but you can ask for less if you want. So I said I'd like a little less, like 2/3. Just, you know, my first night being so intense, or you know, whatever you want to say it was. Um, but the second night, so I'm sitting up there, I'm talking to Mother Ayahuasca in my head, and the last thing I said, I was just like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, please just be a little fucking easier on me tonight. Like, so then I drink and I lay down, and and I'm, you know, I'm just laying there. Everybody else goes around the circle, and I remember. So they came on pretty quickly the second night. I had a really fast and heavy purge, um, and then I laid back, and I just felt like I was sinking into the mattress. Um, I I laid there and I started seeing, like, you know, I had my eyes closed and patterns were appearing to me. Um, you know, colors and whatnot. And I started hearing weird alien type noises, I would call it, I guess, like loo, 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 loo. I can't really like mimic it, but like I was hearing these noises, and then all of a sudden I was just like ripped completely out of my body. I mean, I'm just like thrown into what I guess, like, a lot of people ask me like, what do I think? Where do I think I was? I personally think I was like in another universe, in another galaxy, if anything. Um, I was just kind of the first part I remember. Now this is not going to be like, it was such a intense experience. It's hard for me to remember it like in a linear fashion, but I can go over everything I do remember, and I've stringed it together in my head the best I can for being like linear. But anyway, so I remember floating there and being in the cosmos. It was a pretty blank part of the cosmos, um, and what the first thing I remember happening is like this almost like clear or opaque like machine spaceship coming over me, and it didn't look like any sort of material that we have in this world for sure. It looked almost like biological, but it didn't look, at the same time it was very formed. But what had happened is this thing came out of it, and it was like the shape of my body, and it came over my body, and like rested over me while I was floating. Um, and it scanned me because it was like, it was kind of explaining what it was doing to me, but like without actual talking. Like I just kind of understood what it was doing. I'm sorry.
What was it doing?
It was just scanning me like at a atomic level down to like understanding my DNA and what's wrong in my body and my mind. And this was what I perceive as, I think this was Mother Ayahuasca, the spirit of the plant doing this, understanding me physically, and um, then it kind of like lowered me back down or put me back into my body. Um, and what I heard was, and like once again, it's like I didn't hear a voice, but I knew what it was saying. It's hard to explain. Um, it said I have to clean you out. I have to fix some things. I have to, you know, I have to get up here, and I got to help you out here, pretty much, is what I gathered. And that's when, so all of a sudden I started hearing like on my left side, um, it was like, it's like a buzzing, like a vibration. And then like, but it sounded like it sounded like it was getting closer, and it did. And from what I think it was the spirit of the plant cleaning more negativity out of me, or defragging me per se, organizing, because like I said, it ripped me apart the night before, put me back together. I think this was more of the putting me back together, how I'm, you know, my brain and my physical self, um, my DNA, um, what have you. Um, so what I
And,
perceived it was doing was going into my brain. I could feel it as it was exiting this side, pulling not matter, but something out, energy. pulling
So,
it out this side, and then it would zoom back around and come in this way and go out that way, and it did that repeatedly.
so,
And I felt
where do you think? Where do you think you actually just went? I want to go back a bit because I'm trying to picture you floating in space, but I mean, can you see Earth? Is Earth there? Are you just in dark matter? Are you in? It's obviously hyperspace, but something pulled you out of your body
yes.
on this planet. Like, so are you in this universe or are you in a waiting room? Where are you?
Uh, like I said, I mean, I was in the vastness of some cosmos, but I do not feel like I was in
So when you say
this
cosmos,
gal at the least.
can you see space? Like, is it stars? What are you
Yeah,
in?
there was stars, but I felt like they were far off in the distance, and I was in a very blank area. Um, so I think I was just in maybe some void of space in between galaxies. Maybe it was some sort of meeting point or just a work area. I don't know because I like I said, I could see stars in the distance. I don't feel like I was among them, but I was still floating. I was not on Earth. I was not in the Milky Way galaxy. I was in some sort of void of space, but it had some sort of purpose. It had some sort of that area wherever I was. Uh, it had a reason. It had a that it was a designated area for maybe
So,
doing this work or whatever work it did on me.
so this
Um,
this creature sucked the last bit of negativity out of you, done the final bits of work, and then what happened?
um, so for me, it felt more like it was reorganizing um, my cellular structures and my DNA, my brain, mostly. Like if you think of the brain as a computer, like I said, I felt like I was defragged.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and then once again, so after that happened a little bit, and then once again, I was just projected out. This time, I was like sitting on a nebula cloud. It seemed, and I watched like some of these spacey, like nerdy shows, Neil deGrasse Tyson, whatever. So that's what it seemed like to me. It was like a nebula cloud. I was kind of just sitting there and like dangling my feet from this cloud. Yeah, and I'm just like, I was cheesing, I was smiling. I'm just like, wow,
So was were you your body?
I felt I was myself, my physical self.
Oh, so you were
Uh,
you,
I, I was not in my body though. There's no way I was in my body. My body was laying in Peru, so I,
but
it
yeah.
was,
So you were you, but in real time, you were floating on a nebula.
and yeah, I see myself as myself. Like I could look at my hands
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
whatnot. I could see my feet dangling.
yeah,
So, um, I could feel myself smiling, what have you. So,
yeah.
um, and then I'm just looking around in amazement. I'm like in space then. That's when I was in the stars. I was sitting on a nebula cloud. It was beautiful. I could see colors that we don't see on our like on this world and this planet. And that's probably one of the hardest things to explain to someone is colors we don't see. It's just a different spectrum of color and wherever I was. So I saw these, and the closest I would relate it to was purple, but it wasn't purple. Um, so stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, I kind of noticed. I looked down, and I seen a black hole, um, and I got a little like fear. I guess I felt a little fear because I'm thinking a black hole. It doesn't. Nothing escapes a black hole. It pulls everything in, including light. But then all of a sudden, the mother ayahuasca spoke to me, and she said, "Don't worry, you're okay. It can't touch you." And I'm like, "What do you mean? You can't touch me?" She's like, you're pure love right now. You cannot be touched because you are pure love, pure unconditional love." Um, and that just kind of explained to me that, whatever forces there are in this world or this universe or whatever vastness exists, that there's nothing more powerful than pure unconditional love. It, it explained that to me in that very moment. And I understood that by not getting sucked into a black hole. So that was my nerdy understanding of pure love, I guess. So,
I've
um,
I've heard people talk where they say that that things try and make them do things that they don't want to do. Um,
This being like during an ayahuasca experience.
it might be more DMT, but some people, when they talk about when jesters come in and jesters are like, yeah, come over here, come check this out, come check this out. And, but you can't, you know, like it's like they're just trying to get you to, I don't know, relive something bad or whatever. But if you were to,
Okay.
if you would have just maybe, do you reckon you could have quite possibly jumped in that black hole? And do
I
you reckon
never, that thought is never, I'm sorry, go ahead.
do you think it might have been something like in your subconscious that was trying to trick you to do something that you may have regret? Like, because you know how it's always like you relive those moments where where you got to surrender, but things keep coming in to sort of lure you into that darkness again.
Yeah, and I don't feel like that happened during that moment at all.
Okay.
It was more of just an understanding of love, and it's
Yeah.
something I've struggled with, in relationships I've had with a lot of people, even myself. Like, um, so it was really, I think it was explaining real, true love to me in a way that I could understand,
Mm.
my soul or my spirit could understand. And then in that moment, I realized that there's nothing more important or powerful than true unconditional love in this world, and especially on this planet. Um, in my opinion, I would say throughout the universe. It's a force to be reckoned with. There's nothing stronger and there's nothing more important, and um, it's and that's not just for yourself, but that's for anything and everything that you come into contact with. And we're human beings, so we falter no matter what. But if you can strive to be in the state of love in your heart and have compassion for everybody, that's the place to be, pretty much, man. Like, so that's when you're in a state of clarity and pure love. Um, a good way to explain this, I guess, is maybe when you first meet someone, like a girl or what have you, um, and you fall in love with them. That's like you just feel so strong. It's just such a strong feeling, right? When you and they compare it. I mean, your brain reacts the same way it reacts to like cocaine. When you feel those feelings. So like that alone should just tell you right there how strong it is. Like, it tricks your body into thinking you're doing drugs. Like, it's a so anyways, that's what I learned in that moment, I believe. um like I said, as I talk about this with people, I have other realizations and I learn more about it and I remember more of the experience. But from that particular moment, it just taught me um the importance
That
that
you are,
love is.
yeah, and
I'm sorry.
that you are love basically as well. Like that's that it basically explained of who you really were deep down, or what we actually are behind the mind and the
Yeah.
will. Like we are just love. That's it. I know what you're saying because
Yeah.
Aubrey Marcus talks about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard him talk about it a lot of times. Yeah, and it's just what it is, man. It is that's what it was for me. But just to continue on, um, then after that, it kind of brought me back down again into my body and more of the back and forth for a little bit, and then for the third and what I remember as being the last time, I was projected up again. But this time, I don't feel like I was like. I still feel like I was not in this world, but oh, excuse me. It was more of a sky. I was back up in the sky. There was a brighter sky. There was clouds, um, and then so what appeared to me this time was what to me looked like Jesus Christ. Um, and I am not a Christian. I'm not an evangelist. I do believe there was a Jesus Christ that existed, but I don't follow any doctrine. I have my own beliefs.
Well,
Um,
Jesus, the person's definitely real. You know,
exactly. So
obviously.
that's what I saw. So that's what came to me. there's no talking with our mouths, but we were talking, I guess, what's it called, telekinetically. Um, uh, and to me, he just, what he said to me, the one thing I remember, um, was he said, Dennis, you thinked silly. You think thinked, which is a weird thing to say. You think silly. The way you think is silly. Um, and I was perceiving that as, oh, first of all, I was just like, why am I meeting Jesus Christ of all people? like, like, this is weird. But after a lot of reflection on it, and it's been since March, I perceive that as,
Jesus Christ or Jesus of Nazareth?
um, I don't truly understand the difference, man. I'm sorry.
It's Jesus of Nazareth in his actual, in that sort of scene. Jesus Christ is, that's a
I
super.
don't know. Is that two different guys? I thought Jesus was from
No,
Nazareth, or
I'm just joking. No, it is the same person, but Jesus.
okay, okay,
In the stories they talk of him, it's Jesus of Nazareth. But anyway,
okay. Anyway, so um, I think
so what do you think the thinked part meant? Like, what was that, like a trick?
I think what it was referring to was that, from this moment forth, my pattern of thought is going to be a little different than it has been in the entirety of my life, and I could probably say with a good amount of certainty that it has been.
Yeah.
Um, I've had moments where I've faltered, um, but like I've said before, I'm able to get out of those moments a lot faster and bring myself back to a state of having compassion and being present, like in my heart, and a lot easier than I used to be able to. And I
There's a
only anticipate.
there's a whole lot more steps that you kind of need to introduce with the ayahuasca as well, because there's a guy, like, I've been through so many different versions of myself, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
I've been 18 months sober, and
Happy to
over,
hear that, man. So,
thank you, over the last, say, 12 months, like, I've never really experienced my true self. I've never really experienced my brain. I've never really had one-on-one time with myself, right? Up until
yeah,
probably the age of 15, 16. Yeah. But then after that, so literally, I don't know, say, let's just call it 20 years. 20 years, I've never actually been with myself long enough to know my personality, right? So
mm-hmm.
I sometimes I question myself and I'm like, who am I? Who is this person? All these sorts of things. Because when I used to drink, like, let's say I'd start drinking on a Thursday night, I'd go to work Friday, I'd be hungover. Friday night, I'd have a couple more drinks. I'd probably get blasted. Then Saturday, I'd be like completely regretting it. But then
Mm-hmm.
to back it up, I'd probably drink sort of Saturday night. Then Sunday, it would be just watch movies, Netflix, whatever, eat junk food, eat KFC, eat McDonald's, eat all this rubbish. Then I'd go to work Monday. So I've just spent Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday just going through, like, either being paranoid or being depressed or going, shit, was I
Yeah,
drunk last night? Did I call someone up? So I'm going through all these different thoughts and stuff like that, and I'm reliving whatever. But come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the alcohol's coming out of my system. So my personality on a Monday would be, shit, now I've got to perform for work and pretend to be this, employee. And then
mm-hmm.
Tuesday, it's like you kind of relive it. And then it's Wednesday, you kind of start to feel good. And then Thursday, you kind of drinking again. So it'd only be like maybe 2 days you deal with your real self with no substance in you, right? But basically what I'm
Yeah,
getting at is, if you remove all that and then you start to understand who you are. Well, there's a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? And what he
yep.
talks
I have one of his books. I haven't read it yet, but I'm
what
getting to it. So,
what he talks about is that you can create sort of a new self, right? So with what you're saying with your ayahuasca experience, like, there's still a part of you that's still connected to sort of your old life where you could take the ayahuasca, have the ceremony and stuff like that, you could come out of it and kind of completely change yourself. But what I mean is, and without kind of losing you with it, because it's confusing to understand, is that
Mm-hmm.
every thought is connected to an emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just by the power of thought, you can connect yourself to an emotion. So if I think about something that happened to me 2 years ago, I can relive that thought of that time when I was drunk, which will bring back an old memory, and I'll relive the experience. So I might get anxiety, or I might get
Yep.
paranoid, or feeling like that, right? But if you can
Yep.
disconnect yourself from that thought, then you're going to disconnect yourself from the emotion,
Mm-hmm.
right? So anything in between is whatever. So almost like everything that happened to me, because I've been sober for the 18 months, anything that happened to me before, because I don't drink anymore and I've kind of recreated this new self and I've got this new version of me, all emotions to my old life no longer exist because I've disconnected it, right? So it's almost like that
Mm-hmm.
me doesn't exist anymore because there's nothing.
No.
So whenever I relive, or whenever I think about it, or someone brings something up and goes, "Oh, remember that time you did that?" I go, "That wasn't really me," you know. So
Yeah.
basically, what I'm getting at is like, maybe you've taken your sort of your ayahuasca and your sort of thing, but you're still connected to that sort of that old sort of self, because you've maybe carried some stuff on that's still in connection with your old life, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and like you said, it's the memory of it. I mean, I'm sure even though like you said, you've been what 18 months you said sober,
I keep
you've
I keep
disconnected.
I keep saying 18 months. It might be 17, but the actual date
Okay.
of it, I'm not too sure. Sometimes I think it was March last year or April, but yeah, it's about 18 months. I call it 18
Okay.
months.
Yeah. Yeah. Irregardless, it's um, you still can remember. You can still, even though you've disconnected, you've become spiritually and mentally and emotionally stronger from that past self. But you can still remember things. Am I correct? Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
you can still have that moment of having
but,
a memory or a thought and associating the emotion with it.
but there's no
So
emotion. There's no emotion connected to it. Do you know what I mean? Like
because
yeah, because I mean that, because of this sort of, it's so weird. It's really weird. But like, because I've disconnected that emotion and I've introduced new things like running, yoga,
exactly.
meditation,
Hmm.
kind of created all these new sort of neurological patterns for my brain, which I've
Hmm.
now created sort of positive emotions for myself, or I've raised my vibrations, right? So sort
Hmm.
of almost like in a parallel universe sense, that version of me still exists, but that's off
Yep.
doing thing sort of thing. But I feel like because I've raised my vibrations by rechanging everything, reprogramming myself, completely disconnected myself from those emotions,
Hmm.
past thoughts and everything else like that, like, to me it's like, it doesn't exist. But what I'm kind of saying is,
It,
maybe, you're still kind of connected to it a little bit, where maybe going in and doing another sort of ayahuasca retreat, and like, I know you said yourself that you've gone and done the retreat and you've lost some of the tools because you've come straight in and it's been a frigging pandemic. Do you know what I mean?
oh
Like,
man, it was
yeah,
I don't feel like my integration really started until more recently
yeah,
because of coming back to the world being a fucking shit show. So, um, but that in and of itself, I've turned into a lesson as well. So, um, and like you said, you've disassociated from those past things, and this is going back to like I said, um, that the past is not real. You've created a new version of yourself, being 18 months sober.
yeah,
You are what you are in this moment. Right now, you're sober, so you're
yeah.
not
See, I look at
drinking
it.
anymore.
I
So
look at it.
like I said, it just matters the perspective, like how
Well,
you look at it, like you're saying. So,
my perspective of it is that I'm more than that.
hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, there's one sort of argument I always say, that um, when I walk through the doors of like a yoga studio and they're all vegans, right? Is
Hmm.
some of them frown upon you because you eat meat or you know, cruelty to animals. But sometimes in yoga studios, you feel like you're not a part of the class because they're all vegans. And basically, what I've kind of done to separate myself from it is that one of the main tenets in yoga is know yourself only as a spirit being and nothing else in a materialistic world, right? So in a materialistic world, you're not vegan, you're not nothing. So
Yeah.
when I started to understand all of that, I'm like, okay, well then maybe I'm sort of nothing as well. So all sense of anything materialistic to me doesn't exist. So, you know, even my past, I've kind of took to that and learned that it's all irrelevant, you know. It's
Hmm.
not like this is not this. Like this is all an experience.
Hmm.
I'm in a vessel. I'm more than that. I'm a light. I'm a light being. Like I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for a reason. And I think
Hmm.
that the whole yin and yang of life and the whole chaosness of life and the system that we live in is all just a distraction from what we're actually really are or what we actually capable of. And what you said yourself was that you realize you're like love, you're in infinite love. Like that's what you really
Hmm.
are. Is your true inner self. Like that is deep down what you are. And as a society, we are actually robbed of what we actually are because we're told that we need to follow and follow the Kardashians and watch this TV
Yep.
program, do this and do that and tune into this. And we're sort of like manipulated into believing a certain sort of thing and
Hmm.
the system of the society. Like it's crazy, it's evil, it's toxic, it's nuts. And that's again, that's a part of the vibration, it's a part of frequency because
Yep.
you're here. So anyway, continue. So are we still at
So
night,
I mean,
still at ceremony 2, or are we, so you've witnessed
yeah,
Jude?
this is ceremony too. Yep.
All
So,
right.
but just to touch on what you said, and you know, with all that and all the influence in the world, and watch this and dress this way. Um, the beautiful thing about that is that um, as human beings, nobody can essentially take away our choice or how we choose to see things. Um, you don't have to watch. You don't have to watch the Kardashians. You don't. I choose not to watch the news, so I'm oblivious to what's going on in most of the world almost any day of the week. So like, but that's my personal choice, and that can to me that contributes to my. I know myself, so I know that I know myself pretty well. That helps me know that it's better for me to I get anxious when there's too much stimuli going on, watching the news, knowing what's going on in other parts of the world. So I choose not to. Um, I've I've voted once in the United States. It was I would hate to say this. It was in 2008. I didn't really know much about politics. I just chose to vote. I've never voted since. I just a personal choice. So um, the world can tell you what to do, the news can tell you what to do, um, but the beautiful thing about it is we still have choice. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, right. I mean, you know, I
the,
think one of the weirdest things is like when you see, like I don't have Facebook, I don't have nothing, and I think that where I am at now as a person and my progress with all of the addictions that I've had to face in life,
mm-hmm,
the reason I'm at the place where I'm at now is because I've disconnected from everything. I've disconnected from the social media world. Like I'm only connected to Instagram, and I use Instagram
yep,
my own sort of platform. But when you look at what feeds the beast and what thrives everything, like you look at other people, and no offense to anyone, but when you see like The Rock has 100 and something million followers, right?
mm-hmm,
And he might get, say, 1 million likes or 1 million comments or 5 million. Like there's a lot of people that comment to that, right? But these celebrities in the public eye, they don't use their Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Like they've got people
mm-hmm.
running it. There are
Oh yeah, they
there
don't
are
have time for that shit.
there are a bunch of people that actually comment and speak to an imaginary thing. Like I look at
Yeah,
Instagram I look at Instagram and I go, this is sort of like the first steps into virtual reality, because you can use Instagram as a fake avatar. You know, you can be sitting on your lounge and you could be just in your underpants, but post a photo of yourself at the beach when that doesn't exist. So you're creating this
Yeah.
false reality. Like, it's not real, right? So there are all these people that are in this illusion thinking that they're talking to a celebrity, but really they're
Yeah.
not. It's just like a
Yeah.
fake, you
And
know.
most of them do it while they're driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, it's bizarre. And it's like, you know, that way of life is just so acceptable to, you know, multiple people, where you think about everything that you're saying and you're like, that we're just like infinite love. Like, that's exactly what we are. We are infinite love. But you look at these other sheepish people that are on social media and they think that they're talking to The Rock, or think they're talking to the
Yeah.
Kardashians. But
And
that beast itself is actually fueled into sort of just being, you know, like, you don't need TikTok. You don't need
yeah.
you don't need TikTok. You don't need Snapchat. You don't need Facebook. You don't need Instagram. You don't need all these, like, all 8 apps do the same thing. You only need one thing, either talk or text, and that's it, or just one. Like, people use
Yeah.
all various apps that all do the same thing, but they're just all distracted in this illusional world that is just given to us. It's given to
Yeah.
us, and it's thrived. It's like it's its own beast, you know.
It's
And
like a platform for people to express their interest in their self and try and be better than everybody else. And you know, it's essentially what it could be is just a tool for connection. You know,
but it's not. It's not
it's
though.
not, and people don't use it. People do that to, you know, you get people that I dated a girl once that literally on the mountain, we were hiking one of the highest mountains in Colorado, and she admitted to me, she goes, I hate doing this stuff. I just do it because I like putting it on Instagram. I'm like, and like, I just like, I'm like, and to me, it's the complete opposite. I do it for the each step I take up that mountain means more and more to me. You know, like,
I put a lot of stuff on Instagram, so I'm accountable for it. And if it's on Instagram,
yeah,
I've got to do it. You know, like, it's, I'm I'm doing it so I can hold accountability to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, I have to
yeah,
do that, because I'm not creating a false avatar. I'm not creating a fake me. I'm actually
yeah,
creating, like, this is me. This is what I am doing. You know, middle finger up to everyone else. Like, you
yeah,
guys
yeah.
are trapped in the illusion.
I mean,
So
I did it too. You look back on my Instagram, I got pictures of me at the top of those mountains, like, but you know, it's not because I'm trying to make anybody jealous of me. It's just because I wanted to share my experience. Hey, I'm a I'm a guy that used to be a drug addict. I'm a guy that used to be an alcoholic, and um, you know, I changed my life. Look, you know, I'm not. I guess in a way, I'm saying, yeah, look at me, but I'm not trying to be better than anybody, man. You know, I'm just like I want to share that with someone. Like, hey, and like if someone hits me up and's like, hey, what'd you do? Like, you take me up that mountain or something? Like, I'll be glad to do that. You know, like, and hopefully you have the same amount of fun and good amount of time and joy and that as I had. You know, like.
where are we up to? Where are we up to now in the voyage? Are we still?
Anyways, yeah.
So
So I was
Jesus.
sitting there.
So we've gotten past Jesus. Are we still?
No, that's where I was. I remember this time. So I was. Um, I'm sitting there, like I said, that he said to me, you know, that's really the only thing I remember him saying to me. More, the rest of it was more like just understanding of what was going on. So, anyways, the reason, you know, after thinking about this for however long now, since I was in Peru and my whole experience, to me it was like the reason I saw Jesus because, you know, a common thing that you'll hear Christians or whatever say is Jesus is love. Um, Jesus is love. Jesus, the human being, Jesus of Nazareth, whatever you want to call him, he was, I think, probably the the best representation of a human in a state of constant unconditional love in history. or one of them. You know, there's other people, the Dalai Lama, you know, whatever. Um, but throughout history, Jesus has always been the most one of the biggest symbols of love, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, so that's why I think my mind perceived Jesus, but what I was actually meeting with was the spirit of unconditional love,
Hmm.
and it just came to me in the form of Jesus Christ. Um, so that's what I gathered from that experience, and I got to meet unconditional love and feel that, and I felt it. Um, so not only the night before, I was love, I was unconditional love. I was my highest self. I was completely present in my heart, even though I wasn't in my body. Um, and then the next night I got to meet unconditional love. So that's the best way I can put it. And just not to go too personal, but I've learned a lot from that. Just sitting in my own, having meditation and thinking about it, or going out for a walk with my dog and thinking about it, and so it did a lot for me. It gave me an understanding of how to connect to my heart, which is
Yeah.
something I don't really feel like I maybe seldom did in my life, throughout my life. And even when I did, I don't think I fully understood it or realized it. But now, now I do, and I can get there more frequently and easier than I did before. So, um, not only that, um, to be on the non-self side of it, having that unconditional love for everybody, me to you, me to anybody that walks by me. Now, with that being said, this is something as a human being I believe we falter at often because we have egos, like you said, and to dissolve the ego is a very tough thing to do. Like completely rid yourself of the ego. Probably it's going to take a lot more spiritual work than what I've done. Even what a lot of people have done a lot more than me, I would say that a lot of them would say that the ego still exists, and that's just part of our human condition. Um, but when that doorway opens and you realize it, it's just your mind doesn't forget that. I don't forget that now, and I can go and if someone aggravates me or something, I try and turn it into one big thing I've been saying a lot, and I literally say it out loud. Like I'll be driving around, I'll say to people, I say, "I love you and I believe in everything you do." And that, even if like it's like someone that cuts me off in traffic, I'll say it to them, you know, and that helps my mind actually realize that if I can send love to everybody or anybody or someone that pisses me off or cuts me off in traffic or whatever,
I've
that's that's a it's just a better way of handling a situation in our human form. And
found by using myself like as the third person in some situations can separate me from the ego. Like I feel like over the last 12 months, unless you really understand what an ego is and understand the concept of it and put it in a sort of in a basket and look down at it and go, oh, okay, I get what that is, and you can realize it. Like, you don't need to have ayahuasca to have an ego death. Do you know what I mean? And
oh,
realize it.
absolutely not.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like, I feel like probably over the last 12 months, it's it's sort of everything and anything like in that sort of selfish sense. Do you know what I mean? Like if it is that person that's trying to push in the shops, or it is that that person that's trying to cut in front of you at a set of traffic lights, or it is
mm-hmm.
or if it is that person that has to take the last piece of fruit in the basket, or whatever, or if it is somebody that's selfish or self-centered and just doesn't care, like just doesn't even accept that you're
Mm-hmm.
as what you are, that it's almost like that they're the only person that exists in the world, so
Exactly. And
there's a
it,
lot.
it
Yeah, go.
I said it actually happened to me today. I had a woman cut me off in front of a traffic light, and that first thing out of my mouth was "you fucking cunt." Like So, but then, I realized like I was able to realize and recognize my own ego right there in that moment.
Yeah, well, I mean,
And I
sometimes
just let it go instead of getting angry at myself and getting angry and screaming out my window more. I just stopped. I was like, you know what, whatever. I keep going. Life
I,
goes on. They said,
I,
hey, love you. See you later. So,
I
so.
I've had my fair share of it in the last, say, 12 hours where, I think that, not saying that you need to isolate yourself all the time from people, but if you are accepting to allowing other people to come in, it can sort of disturb you a little bit. But I had like, there's someone that's real close to me and all they do is think of themselves, and
Mm-hmm,
I've tried to have a serious conversation with them plenty of times to say, look, get rid of all the clutter around you, get rid of all the nonsense people in your life, like concentrate on yourself, concentrate
mm-hmm,
on like 3 people that are real close to you. Like, I use this pie, like a pie sort of scenario, right, into many people, but basically if you've got a pie sort of diagram and you go, okay, well, if I was to take 50 out of that and I was to put 50 into my work, right, you're leaving yourself with another 50 out of the 100. So if I was to put 25 into my health and fitness, right, it's
mm-hmm,
50 for work, 25 in my health and fitness, and then that leaves me with another 25. Okay. So that other 25, okay, I might put 10 into jet skiing. That's going to leave me with 15. And let's say 15, I'll put it into this YouTube channel, right? That's it. Like, I haven't removed, say, 2 out of that 15 and just for the YouTube channel, say, give it 10 and put 5 into someone else's drama. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a 1, I don't have a 2, I don't have a 3, I don't have a 15 to give anybody else. Do you know? So if I've
mm-hmm.
only got 100 to give out, that's going to where it is. But I know people that'll give 50 to negativity, 50 to drama, 25 to other people's dramas, confrontations, conflict, like arguing. Even when you go on the social media, like, I don't even have point one to write a negative comment. I'll write comments online and I'll just delete it. I don't even post it or share it unless I see someone, that's, I don't know, in my Explorer feed and I need to write a comment to say, like, someone that has got an ego and needs me to give them a slap to say, look, this is I'm coming into your life I'm your ego deaf and I'm just going to write this comment to say, drop the ego because you're a bit of an idiot. But
Mm-hmm.
this person that's close to me, like, yeah, I've said to him plenty of times, like, remove all the bullshit, compose your 100 and just get in tune with yourself. But yesterday they asked me to go out for dinner and they told me to be somewhere at 6:30. I planned and prepped all this stuff. I put 2 hours into my day, into preparing for it, going, getting a sauna, working out, doing all this stuff. And they sent me to the wrong restaurant, right? And
Mm-hmm. By
that,
mistake or.
just because it's just so involved in everything else, and they've just messed me. Anyway, like, I had to run around the countryside and do all this stuff for them and that, and they don't go out of their way. So I've had to chase them down throughout the day and get something that was mine. Meanwhile, they're out shopping for all these other people and someone's birthday that they've met online. Like, it's just ridiculous. And it turns out, they send me to the wrong restaurant and I got like the old self and the old reminder of, fuck it, fuck people, fuck everyone. Like, all of a
Yeah.
sudden I just started to get all that clutter and I was like, and I was like so angry. And like straight away, as soon as that got introduced to me, like I just knew that my interview at 9 o'clock this morning that got cancelled, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew that it fucked everything up. There was all this imbalancement just because of that, and that is a prime example of fucking ego. People that just don't
Oh
give a
yeah.
fuck about anyone else. All they care about is themselves, but sometimes it can affect you and you can take other people's bullshit on. And, the
Mm-hmm.
last 12 hours for me has just really thrown me off balance. I've had an incident at the gym this morning. I've told people, cancel my membership, and just people just seriously sometimes need a reality check. And if they don't get that reality check, you just need to like not play a part in their life whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
And I think
there you go.
people like us, we're awakening to something, some kind of shift in the world or the universe.
There is actually a shift going on right now, which is very, very, very deep. I don't know if you're aware of it, but they're actually calling it the Great Awakening. And the planet or
Oh yeah.
where the planet shifts, we're going into a dark to a light. We're going into this sort of 5D sort of transition where, using coronavirus and all this craziness from China and
Yeah.
China trying to take over the world, and the election that's in America that's completely just been flipped upside down. That is where they're trying to keep. That is where they're trying to keep people in this three-dimensional state of fear
Hmm.
through propaganda and through the media, where it's not allowing people to ascend and transition into this fifth dimensional part, which we're actually doing. But it's almost like if there was a death and then a rebirth, we're actually going through the death now.
Hmm.
There is going to be a rebirth, but considering about the impact of climate change, and you look at all the fires and you look at all the craziness, China floods and all this sorts of stuff, like I'm not like the 2021 is only around the corner, but there's a part of me that believes that I don't think many people are going to actually see 2021, or maybe they will, but it's not going to be the 2021 that you think it's going to be, So we're in this transition now on a huge scale, global scale, and there's a lot of people that are aware of it, but yeah, there are people wakening up, and
Hmm.
that's why I'm kind of doing this YouTube thing as well, and why I express the things I do on Instagram, because I
Hmm.
believe you got to share an awareness, you got to spread a message, you got to awaken people and go, look, the life that we live in isn't what you think. The system that we live in, we're just blindfolded, we're manipulated. Like, this isn't like, infinite love. We are actually infinite love beings. We are these things. Like, don't get trapped in all the bullshit. Don't get
Yeah.
caught up in the hype. Don't get caught up in the drama. Don't get caught up in the ego. Like, just
Yeah.
lower your guard, surrender, because we are being robbed of who we actually are within our true self.
Hmm.
Our true
Yeah.
self, we are very powerful beings, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
not we're not told that. And the secret itself within life, like, we are the secret in life, and being in tune with ourselves and being deeply connected with ourselves in various forms of way. Like, people are scared to go within inside their brain to learn things
Hmm.
about themselves, but you need to understand your brain, like
Yeah. You
you
need
need
to
to
understand yourself.
you need to put in work, So, and
Yeah.
doing ayahuasca,
Um.
where I'm bummed out that I never got this chance, and I'm like, you
Yeah.
go continue.
You
How
will,
you
brother.
I just,
You will.
I just
And just to contradict you a little bit, and I respect everything, with putting this YouTube videos up, and you're spreading the message out, and I do believe that that has its purpose for someone like you. For me personally, I feel like, or maybe it's just where I'm at in my own life, but I don't feel like it's my job to spread awareness of this, that, and the other thing. I just feel like being an example of, or doing my best in every moment to be an example of that unconditional love, that pure love being, that light body, what have you. I feel like that's my job. So, as like, I don't know what you want to call the people that are waking up. Let's just call them spiritual warriors. I don't know. Um, so we all have our own job. Um,
yeah,
I think what you're doing,
like,
as long as intuitively it feels right to you, and you feel like you're doing that for the good of everybody, like everything in Spirit Quest is based on the saying "Para el bien de todos," for the good of all. Um, as long as you feel like that's your intention and that's your intuition to do that, you're doing the right thing, and I believe you are. Personally, like I said, just to contradict you, I just feel like for me personally, it's more of be that example, um, and pass that on to the people I meet in life, or like you reaching out to me about uh, this video or this chat. Um, so that's how I feel about that, and I believe we all have our own purpose. Not that I don't want to go spread awareness, or I just don't feel like that's my cup of tea. But at the same time, I do respect it, and I think it has its own. It's definitely what's the word? Necessary. It's
Yeah.
definitely necessary. I just don't feel like I have the means or time, the human condition, all that stuff to do it. So my thing is just lead by example and do my best in every moment.
Just
So
just be the guest, be the influencer guest.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, the beauty of it is you're doing that too, but you're just spreading awareness too, man. So uh, everything in stride, everything's going to be different for everybody. We're all different individuals, but we are all connected. So
Do you think
um,
do you think that we are all one? We are all one state of consciousness, but we're just all 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 experiencing not the version of ourselves. Like we are all the same consciousness, but we're just experiencing different expressions of ourselves.
yeah, I don't believe that. I just kind of know it, um, and that comes from my Wachuma experiences, which I'll get to.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so I didn't really that didn't come to me during ayahuasca, but Parker put it one way was that ayahuasca is cake and Wachuma is the icing that goes on top, and that was a great way of explaining that. Um, anyways, so so going back into back at Spirit Quest, after meeting what I perceived as Jesus Christ, unconditional love. Um, Once again, I was lowered back down into my physical body. Well, finally, this was the final time. Um, and again, it was more of what I felt as Mother Ayahuasca cleaning me out and defragging me. And then it was short that time, and then I kind of understood that it was her time to move on and help somebody else, whether they were in that Maloka with me or somewhere else. Anyway, so then after that, everything mellowed down again, and this was already, I would say, probably within 30, 45 minutes of the end of the ceremony. So I just kind of laid there and relaxed and processed everything. What I just went through was unfathomable to most people. So um, that was that. And then, the end of the ceremony was what was that? Went back to the room. Now, the interesting thing is, contradictory to my first ceremony, the next day I woke up, and as the day went on, I kind of started feeling progressively worse. I felt like a lot of like fog and um, almost like states of depression coming back. And that night that was the night that we were supposed to participate in Bobansana, which is another plant medicine. Now, 6 out of the eight of us, they did go to the Bobansana ceremony. By the end of the night, or when the ceremony was taking place, I didn't feel good. I was I was emotionally distraught. Um, I talked to Parker about it for a moment or two, and he said, he's like, this is part of the experience. He's like, I've seen it over and over again. Just be with it and just do your best. And I told him, I said, now Bobin Sauna is apparently um, made and suspended in sugar-based alcohol, so it's an alcoholic drink. Um, so I opted not to go to the ceremony, and I did not,
So you didn't.
and I didn't drink Bobazana, um, just because it's alcoholic. Um,
It's a different
I kind of
thing.
wish I did now,
Yeah.
but it is what it is, and I still believe it happened for a reason. So I was just kind of afraid how my body might react. I was overthinking and in my head again, basically. And
Yeah.
after having an amazing experience the night before, I'm sorry.
You think too much then.
Yeah, exactly.
You think
um,
too much. Maybe
but it is what it is.
maybe he was pre-warning you. Maybe
Yeah,
he was
yeah. I think it. Yeah,
too much.
that's
Maybe he
that's
should
one way of putting
have
it.
bro and just drank that sugary cane, pure alcoholic beverage from the Amazonians. You should have just died.
Yeah. Hey, man, it is what it is. I can't go back there now and do it. So, but next time when I go to another retreat, I probably will participate this time. But anyways, what have you? Um, so after that day of having a break, the third and fourth ceremony is back-to-back nights, so there's no in between. So you just get the last two over with. And keep in mind that, by this time, I mean, the country had already closed its borders, banned all air, boat, and car travel, which the only way to get to Iquitos is by airplane, or boat, which takes about 7 days just to get back to Lima. Uh, um, so with everything going on, just being in the rainforest and participating in plant medicine experiences and ceremonies, you know, that was just unfathomable itself right there. But coming into like the third and fourth nights, my third night, I let Don Robert pour again, and he pretty much filled up the cup. I think I had mild purging third night, and I had virtually no mental, visual experiences, but I felt a lot of emotions and memories. Nothing bad, but it was more based around the people in my life that have passed away or ascended or what have you. And I was really able to communicate with them in my own way and just know that they're okay, uh, wherever they may be, or their souls or their spirits. So that was the basis of pretty much my third. My fourth night was pretty mellow, nothing, a little bit of the same emotional connections, but that's kind of just to wrap up the ayahuasca experience pretty easily. The third and fourth nights were relatively uneventful with the bit of just processing death and accepting the deaths of people, realizing that I kind of had realizations that, after everything I just went through, I'm like, I know there's more. I didn't have it wasn't thrust upon me like some people say with DMT experiences or something, like this is what happens when you die or blah blah blah. It was more just like being okay with it, accepting death as part of life, and then being able to communicate with a few people in my life that have passed on, and just being okay with the fact that they're no longer here in this realm. So that was pretty much, that's wrapping up my ayahuasca experience right there. Other than integrating and the things that I've thought about and learned since then.
So what
Without,
was it? The Huachuma?
Wachuma, yeah. So
Is
that's
that
the
is that that's the toad venom? No.
no, it's made from the San Pedro cactus.
Yeah.
Um, so it's essentially its active ingredient is mescaline.
So you've done
Um,
your four ceremonies. So okay, so the third one was the drink, the alcoholic drink, and then the fourth
well,
one.
that's yeah. I mean, I guess you could count that. I didn't drink the Bobensana,
Right.
so
So really, you basically had three ceremonies.
four ayahuasca ceremonies.
Four ayahuasca.
If I would have drank Bobensana, that would have been a fifth ceremony,
So
which
what
is
was
very mild. Like there's when I guess when they drink it and everybody you could converse and everybody's walking around and stuff. And like I didn't do it, like I said, but so I didn't get the experience. But so yeah. Anyways, but four ayahuasca ceremonies, and then it was pretty much like I was originally scheduled to leave after ayahuasca. I think you remember we talked about it a little bit. I was
yeah.
flying up to Cusco. I had a 4-day trek planned from the village of Lares to Machu Picchu, um, but obviously that didn't happen. We couldn't even leave uh, the sanctuary. We were quarantined. Um, so Parker, there was only I think it was me and one of the other girls. Everybody else was already staying for Wachuma, but me and one of the other girls were the ones
Meant to leave.
that were scheduled to leave, and there was one girl scheduled to come for Wachuma, but obviously she couldn't make it. Um, so, anyways, me and the other girl that were scheduled to leave decided to stay because it was either, you know, not that Parker has to do his job too. It was the ultimatum was that stay and do Wachuma and see what happens with the whole COVID thing or traveling and whatever, or they would take us back to Iquitos and we would be of our own accord and, you know, figure out how to get home ourselves. We all talked about it as a group, and obviously opted for us to stay and um, participate in the Wachuma ceremonies. Which by then, some of the other people in the group had been talking to people back in the town with the internet at Spirit Quest, which is like, terrible. You're in the middle of the rainforest. I mean, you're not getting good signal out there. It works, but it doesn't work. It only works to a certain point. So anyway, yeah, so we had all opted to stay, and then I think we had like 2 days in between the last ayahuasca ceremony and the first Wachuma ceremony. Um, and we just, I think we all just relaxed and took it easy. And we were trying to get flights to get out of the country, which like all of us there um, had been booking flights that were. I booked a flight back to Florida that got canceled like 45 minutes after I booked it through Spirit Airlines. So it took me 6 months to get my damn money back. Like, so, um, I'm sorry.
No, all good, all good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was a lot of that 2 days. Was just everybody trying to figure out how we were going to get home or what was going to happen. But anyway, so coming into it, we wanted to have a lot of, have a good group synergy doing the Wachuma ceremonies. Per Parker's recommendation was, that Wachuma was a very synergistic medicine, and the group energy collectively was very important, and it's very true. But anyway, so going into the Wachuma ceremony number one. So Wachuma is different. Time-wise, you do it. I think we did it around 11 a.m., maybe around noon, and it lasts a lot longer. It's more of a 11 to 15-hour experience. Um, Ceremony one, you go into a different Maloka, which is they call Selva's Maloka. Selva is Don Howard's daughter.
Yeah.
Don Howard that passed on last year, and she's the one that she's the shaman for.
That's who I thought Parker was.
Okay, yeah, that's still funny. So coming into Wachuma, didn't really know what to expect. Obviously, I'd heard a couple things from the people there. One of the ladies at the ceremony, she lives in Missouri, and she is a Wachuma shaman here in the States, and she does her own Wachuma masadas.
Is that the one with the daughter? No.
Yeah. Beth and Maddie are their names. So anyways, Beth had told us a little bit about it being experienced, and basically that it was a lot more positive based, or maybe not, to say positive, because ayahuasca experiences can be positive, but it was mellower, I guess, not restrictive as ayahuasca, staying in the Maloka. Like during Wachuma, we drank, and then we left for the entirety of the day. Like, and our Wachuma ceremony was in nature, like outside, and connecting with one another. And so basically, Wachuma ceremony number one, you go in the Maloka, and women go to one side, and the men sit on the other side. And some of the staff even comes in and participated with us and drank. And so Selva pretty much decides who's going to drink at that point. You sit down and she talks a lot, and I wish I could remember verbatim the things she said, because it was all beautiful words, just the way she spoke and everything. And Wachuma to me was a lot about connection and clarity, high on the connection part. Anyways, just so to explain, like go in a linear fashion here. After I drank, it takes about, I would say, 20 minutes before you start feeling the effects. See, it's really hard to explain with Wachuma. It's just
like psychedelic sort of all lights and just everything's alive? Like,
No, it's just I would say the best way to say it is it really heightens your senses. Not not to the point where you're like seeing colors or movements or whatever. You just like you're just hypersensitive to.
you're basically the lens of the 3D glasses, basically.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So like I mean like I would listen to music. We went on a boat ride to meet the Alamas tribe. Um, and Parker recommended listening to music on the boat ride. One to drown out the sound of the engine. Two
Hey,
that it could be.
just quickly, did you see any snakes?
No, I bought a bracelet that's made out of anaconda skin.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh,
we've seen like lizards and stuff going through the grass, but they were so fast you never really
is there
got a
like
good look at them. So
a jaguar on site?
no, no.
I thought there was a jaguar on site and a sloth.
So no, we were supposed to go to the animal sanctuary
Yeah.
at one point, but obviously with COVID, everything was pretty much closed, and we weren't even supposed to be on the rivers. Yeah, I'm gonna. Anyway,
It went
now
back.
we're back.
Just had to take a quick break.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway.
so where are we up to? I said about the thing. You got the snake bracelet.
Yeah.
The
So going.
Yeah, the sloths. I thought that there was a sloth on site and a jaguar.
No, we're supposed to go to the animal sanctuary one of the
That's
days,
what you said, don't you?
but it just didn't happen. Um, COVID and everything. Everything was closed, um, which was wild. Like when we got into Iquitos, there's so many people on the damn streets. It's insane. Like these little motor cars and stuff. When we got back to Iquitos, it was like I was waiting for like zombies to come around every corner and Tom Cruise to come flying out of the fucking sky. Like it was just wild, man. Anyway, so going back to Wachuma, um, so the first ceremony we do, um, uh, we all drink and you kind of just go out, and that's the day we get on the boat and we went to meet. I think I said the Alamas tribe. I think they're called, and they come from like Ecuador or something. So they actually walk down. Like think they said it takes them 8 days to walk down from where they're from in Ecuador to meet up with the group in Peru. Um, so you go meet these people, and you know they like we had already went and met a couple tribes during the off days in ayahuasca. I forgot to mention all that. Um,
That's okay.
and yeah, and you like dance with them. You buy little trinkets and stuff like that. You know, souvenirs you can get. Um, the Shipibo people come to Spirit Quest and set up and sell you stuff. And this is the way that those local people make their money. I mean, that's the men are like hunters and fishers, and the women make stuff to sell to tourists and people. So, but it's pretty humbling meeting them because you know they live on like a fraction of the money we live on per day. You know, like
Yeah.
westernized civilization, and they're just humble people. I mean, they they like they're very. I don't know if they're nomadic or, but it's just humbling to meet people that live what in America would probably be considered poverty, but they're probably like some of the most grateful, kind individuals you'd ever meet. And there's a language barrier there too, so
Right.
you really get.
Graham Hancock says that you know, if there was ever a catastrophe or anything like that, like a volcano erupted or a comet or a meteor that hit the planet, like go at night time and you look at those continents where there's no lights, those will be the continents or those will be the tribes that exist, like the sort of the Africans or the South Americans and stuff like that. But like if you know if you were to look at that and go, well, these people who have to kind of mingle with the tourists for money, like, is there sorts of native, like, is there people or those tribal people there or people within the Amazon area? Like, do they have to all depend on the tourists to survive, or is there like,
Um,
the not the jungle sort of type of people, but is there actually like ones that don't need Western culture ways there to survive, or?
I think Parker said that, like, you know, they depend on a lot of that money um, to support
That,
their
that's them though with the retreat.
not Spirit Quest. I'm saying that these people were meeting that because he had mentioned while Don Howard was sick, and a lot of those tribes only meet with Spirit Quest, so they were not getting income, and they struggled to, you know, rebuild their Maloka or wherever they actually live, stuff like that. So I think to a point they do depend on that money from the tourists and stuff. But with everything that's happened, I'm sure they've figured out something else, you know, since
Yeah.
we were the last people in March that met with some of these people, and nobody's gone to Spirit Quest since. Um, so, you know, I don't, you know, I hope they're okay. I hope they figured something out that, you know, they weren't completely dependent upon
Yeah.
the money that they get from people like us. Or, you know, had I known that, like, I might have given them a little more money or something like that. So I'm not really sure. That's a good question though. But anyway, so meeting these people, I mean, so we go to this like tiny little remote village. It's just like, and it was, oh man, Johnny, it was the hottest place I've ever been on earth. And I grew up in Florida, and like you're in Australia, so
What is it in? Because I'm Celsius, but what is it in
yeah.
Fahrenheit? What is it in Fahrenheit? Or what was it in Celsius, if you know?
I don't know honestly, but it was, I would say it was in like the 90s Fahrenheit. But it wasn't that. It was just like the level of humidity combined with the heat, and
So
then you're like, I think within like 100 or 200 miles of the equator.
yeah,
So like you're just closer to the sun in general.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and it's just beaming down on you. I mean, I was like walking around this village, and you know, I'm kind of a chubby guy, and I was like, I'm like a guy that doesn't want to take my shirt off, and I'm just like, most of the time I was in Peru, I could not wear a shirt. I was just like, I got to the point where I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like it's too hot. I cannot wear it. And I bought like the thinnest synthetic material you could buy. Like still, I couldn't even have that shirt on. So I'm walking around this, and you're just beaming with good energy on Wachuma, and it's just like being with the group. And like I said, the synergy of the group was very important. But everybody there was just having a great day. And like we're all like we're hiking up to this place to meet these people. Everybody's taking pictures, and Selva was passing out limes, and like we're like chewing on limes, and it's just like so refreshing. It heightens like your taste senses and everything. And um, yeah, it's just something else, man. You feel so connected, and just you appreciate that connection that you feel to everything. I mean, blades of grass. I mean, ants walking by. Like
Hmm.
the second Wachuma ceremony, like we went out for a hike afterwards, and like I just like, man, I just felt, I just was like looking at these trees, and I understood, like, I don't know, I just thought about how a tree lives its entire life in one spot. It's still a living being, you know.
Hmm.
um I believe it has some kind of spirit or something. um but it just gave me this like understanding of stillness, and kind of just like being okay with where you're at. Like you're where you're at for a reason, and you're meant to be there. um that being said, like you're in that spot for a reason, because we're all part of a collective consciousness and connected, and we all have a job to be somewhere at some specific point in time and space. um Man, it's a deep rabbit hole with Wachuma. It's and it's something I want to learn a lot more about, and I've been like trying to find modalities to do so, um,
Well,
because of
I didn't do it because of the whole, like, I didn't sign up for that sort of side of it because of the whole sort of, because someone said to me when I said that I'd been sober for so long, and they're like, oh, well, then how do you take it, like taking the ayahuasca? Because because even Russell Brandt's sober, and he always talks about it. And he goes, I don't know if I could take ayahuasca because I'm sober. I'm in that sobriety sort of state. So when with that the hachuma, like when I looked upon that, I'm like, oh, I don't want to take I'm stepping the mark. You know what I mean? So, but when I do go there and do it, like I'm hoping like real soon. But I'm definitely gonna make sure that I stay for that part of the trip and definitely
I
do.
would I would highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Mm.
Yeah, if I ever go back, I probably wouldn't ever go back for just ayahuasca. Um, I would definitely want to stay for Wachuma. They work very good together too. Like like Parker said, but ayahuasca's cake and Wachuma's the icing that goes on top. So it's just the sweeter part of it, the more understanding. I mean, like the level of connection you feel just gives you this new understanding of that unconditional love for people and having compassion and doing your best to do that. You realize that by doing that, not only are you helping someone else, you're helping everybody and everything, and yourself especially. I mean, your brain literally cannot differentiate between helping someone else and helping yourself.
Mm.
Like, it doesn't have the modality of doing that. Like, the human brain cannot. Like, when you help someone else, your brain is perceiving that as you're doing something for yourself. So that's why you get those good feelings. And Wachuma really enhances that and gives you that connection to everybody and everything. And yeah, I'm getting off like course there, but like so like it was just nice, being out there. There's language barriers between the people, but you still felt connected to them. We danced with them and stuff. I mean, like, this is um it was just unfathomable to be doing that stuff during a pandemic, like thinking back on it. Like, the rest of the world was worrying about where they're going to get toilet paper, and I'm dancing with some indigenous people up in near the equator in Peru.
Right.
So, I'm sorry.
No, 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 I just said yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's God, it's the Wachuma ceremony. It's like, since it goes all day, there's so many parts of it, so it's hard to like. I keep bouncing around everywhere, but so you do the initial ceremony in the Maloka where you drink the medicine. Then you go out. The first day we went out and did the interacting with the people and whatnot, and then we came back and and you do more energetic work at night. We went up to the star deck and um, we all kind of sat in a circle, and this was on Selva's instruction as well. And she went around and she uses, like, they're like maracas, like the jingle, and she just goes around to everybody and kind of like opens you up energetically too. And she really likes you to pay. Oh, hold on one second. You still there?
Yeah, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, yeah. My phone's going down to like 20%, so
Oh,
I still
okay,
got
yeah.
a little bit of time here. Um, so yeah. Anyway, so she highly like says to, like, a lot of it was paying attention to the cosmos, and like we all were kind of laying there and like, man, I mean, over there, like, you could see stars for days when you're up on this deck at night, and the skies are clear, and you're in the middle of the jungle, and there's not a lot of light pollution around. So we're laying there and looking up, and you just have this connection to, like I said, it connects you to everything. So you connect to the cosmos, and you feel part of the oneness that we live in. So, um, and then you go back, the ending of the ceremony, you go back into the the Wachuma Maloka, and there's what they call a mesa, which is like a table with various objects all over it. And I don't have a full understanding of all of it. All, like, it talks about a lot of, like, the right part of the mesa is more, I think, male energy based. The left part is female energy based. The center is like the connection of everything. Like I said, I don't understand it all, so I don't want to disrespect it by explaining something I don't fully understand. But pretty much, you do energetic work around this mesa with all these objects on it. And Selva talks a lot and tells you, she explains things, and um, it's just good stuff, man. I mean, you work on the mesa by putting your hands on it, and she did various things. Like the person that would stand at one end of it, which is like the main part of the table, um, like I can't remember exactly. Like the first night was more of us just connecting our energies through the mesa, which is really powerful, man. I mean, when you're there, you just feel it. And we all rotated around to do that. The second night, we had like chakra. These like stones were little figures, but each one represented one of the seven chakras, um, and more of like balancing your energies and um, stuff like that. But like she ends the ceremonies again with pretty much a little speech on like unconditional love and how that's important. That's the most important thing, like that we can really represent as these beings that we are as humans. Um, and that's just like, and then at the end, like everybody, she tells like we end the ceremony with unconditional love, so everybody go around and hug each other, and that's what we did, and it was one of the happiest moments of my life, like connecting with these people and giving everybody a hug and expressing love to them in whatever personal way that we felt because we had bonded over the past 2 weeks and especially during the global pandemic, and so it was really powerful. And then at the end of the first Wachuma ceremony, because you don't eat all day on Wachuma, you have breakfast and then like a
I'd be,
light snack.
I'd be starving.
Huh?
I'd be
Oh,
starving.
bro. I mean, like sitting up on the star deck when we were up there and she was opening up her energies or what have you. Um, it's just like you're sitting there. It takes a while, so like everybody's like, it's hot. I mean, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and you're still sweating your ass off. It's so hot out still. And like I was wearing like this shirt, I think the same thing, and I'm sitting there and like I like broke my tailbone years ago, so I'm sitting on this hard metal slab, marble slab, and like all crisscross like this, something I haven't done since I was in grade school. Like, so like your body's just like, and then you're standing up around the mesa for another hour or so, and so you're like, you really get a sense of like your body just like gets tired. I mean, even like you gotta like kneel down because like or go have a seat for a minute or something like that. Like it was just hard work. I mean, not only that, we're working with the energies and stuff that are flowing through you and stuff. It was exhausting physically and mentally. And by the end, you haven't eaten all day. You're starving. You're thirsty. Like, um, so then after the ceremony's over, we all went. You know, we have a feast in the dining Maloka, um, and excuse me. Um, that first night. So during going back during ayahuasca, I mean, everything you eat is it's virtually almost the same meal every day. Um, but the lady that prepares the food, she tries to switch it up in little ways, and she does a great job. It's not exactly the same, but it's fish and vegetables and rice. And then in the morning, you have a little breakfast menu. You could order eggs, potatoes, fresh fruit, avocado, blah blah blah. And it's all delicious. I mean, but if you're used to eating, salt and pepper and everything. Like it's a little bland during the ayahuasca. So, and then eating fish every day is, for anybody that doesn't do that or isn't like a pescatarian, it's just your palate gets sick of it, I guess. But so, anyways, at the end of the first Wachuma ceremony, we go in and like there's just like all this like really good looking food and like stuff we didn't get on ayahuasca. Um, and I remember getting like a plate and everything together. There's like these little fried cheese things, and um, I'm like pushing the meat on the plate and expecting it to be fish, and like I go sit down and I'm like poking the meat with my fork, and I'm like, guys, it's chicken. It's chicken. We got chicken. So that's like it's I don't know. It's just funny, a little funny thing that happens there. But Wachuma ceremony number two. Um, you take a day in between that one too. And by then, like everybody was thinking this was getting close to like we might be getting out of there. We had been hearing various things from people in the town. There was a lady from the U.S. embassy. Oh no, she wasn't even with the U.S. embassy. She was some kind of volunteer with them or something. But she had been organizing these like Google spreadsheets of who was where outside of Iquitos or in Iquitos. and she had been communicating with the embassy, giving them this information, and she's the one that like really got all of our names on this roster to get on a flight.
Mm.
Only for honestly, it was she was only doing it for U.S. citizens because you know at that point in time it was deal with your own embassy, your own country. So unfortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately for us, the Americans, we got out before um, the other guys, and there was three other guys. One guy was from Scotland, one guy was from Montreal, and the other guy was from Bundaberg, Australia.
Yeah, so
Um,
Anthony.
Anthony, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those guys got stuck there a lot longer than we did. We got out because of this lady helping us. Um, got on a flight. Like it all happened so fast. I mean, it was. Anyways, not to get off subject, but we were worried about the lady had been telling us, "Be ready to go when I get a hold of you." Um, but meanwhile, we still had one ceremony to do, so we were kind of like hoping that it wouldn't be till like the day after the ceremony or after the last ceremony because we all wanted to participate. And we did. We ended up getting to. Um, Ceremony number two was, similar to the first one, except for we didn't go out on the boat rides. We stayed at the sanctuary, and like I said, we did a hike, and we all had a lot of time to ourselves, and we all connected and went in the river together and had a great time. Like it was one of the best moments of my life. Like we all connected and had fun in the river. We were laughing and making jokes, and then we all had our own time walking around the sanctuary. I was listening to a lot of music and stuff, and I sat in the grass and just kind of like this was all I was had taken the medicine already. Um, and the second day I had like this. I can't really remember if it was a few minutes or a couple hours, but I had this like sit down and just like kind of like stared at my hands and felt gratitude um, for my hands in particular and my feet too. I was thinking of, I'm just like people like take take that shit for granted, like how much your body, every body part does for you. But like I was like really focused on my hands, and I'm like, they've done so much for me since I came into this world. So I was just like really expressing gratitude and staring and appreciating my hands, which is weird, I guess. Like I don't know, it's just like it was another way of connecting to myself. Yeah. Um, so yeah, watching was just oh man, it was just a great experience. I'm so grateful that I got to stay and do it the way
Mm.
that it happened with the pandemic.
Mm.
It was weird, but I'm happy that it happened. I'm happy that it happened that way. I wish I got to do the hike and everything that I was planning on doing, but it is what it is. I got something else out of the experience, and the the mountains that I was supposed to hike, they've been there for how long? Thousands of years.
Yeah,
Um,
I got
I'll be able to go back. The experience I had is invaluable, and you know,
mm,
so
I got
um,
I got screwed over on my side of it. Like my insurance didn't cover me for the cancellation, and then the flights, trying to get the flights. Like if they open the borders and you don't have to do the 14-day quarantine, well then I'm right to go. But it's the 14-day quarantine that's going to screw me. But I don't think the Qantas who I was meant to fly with, I don't think they're going to open up. I think they're canceling those. Like I think Boeing went broke as well.
mhm.
So Boeing's canceling like the 347 or whatever. I don't know what flight it is, but Qantas, who I was to fly with, they're a part of Latam. Is it Latam Airways?
Tom, yeah,
Yeah. So um, I think Qantas is like kind of closing down as well. The whole thing's bizarre and strange. I don't know what's happening with the planes. There's a part of me that feels like I don't even think we're going to be able to ever fly ever again. But they're going to have.
yeah. Well, that would be unfortunate.
There are people still flying now, but for
Yeah,
some weird reason, politically, I think that they've closed down the flights, and I don't really want to think about it too much because it's heavily frustrating, man. But yeah, look,
yeah, I know.
I got screwed. So I at the moment now I'm my whole trip is still there, but I'm real close to kind of losing it if I don't do anything too soon. But um, Parker said that the request I can take that whenever I want, but the flights, that's another thing. But yeah, look, as soon as those borders open, I'm gone. I'm just dropping everything and I'm going. Like
Yeah.
like I know everything is all timing, and like you said, you get a calling for it, but I feel like if I don't get to do this, like I've been robbed, and it's like that last thing that I need to experience, just to, um, I don't know, kind of seal the deal with my journey. I feel like that this is the last, like I feel like I need to go deep, 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 deep inside my mind, deal with those traumas, deal with those regrets, deal with those negativity sort of moments and those past life experiences and whatever. And, and yeah, and just, live the rest of my life happily. But, yeah, it sucks, man. I really want them to
Yeah.
open up. If not, I'm just gonna have to fill the jet ski up and just try and and fucking paddle there.
Yeah. I think have a little patience, brother. It's gonna happen. They
I,
can't.
but it's like just with the flights, like I'd be fine if it was 2 years, 3 years if I had to wait. But I've only got like 12 months to do it with Qantas, and then they're closing the flights. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's utter madness. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, like I still get emails. I can't figure out how to like opt out of these emails either from the U.S. Embassy
that's
that
right.
like or and the U.S. Embassy in Peru. They like sending me constantly like, there's another repatriation flight back to America. I'm like, there's still people stuck there. Like,
Oh wow.
geez, like, yeah. I mean, I guess there's still like people that haven't gotten out of the country yet, and they've already like repatriated over 10,000 Americans or something, and however many from other countries, and um, but like, dude, even like the journey back to like America, like it was like getting on this like chartered flight. It was a Latam flight, but it was chartered by the U.S. Embassy. So it's like the U.S. Embassy paid like to put these people on the plane and fly them back to Miami. Which luckily for me, I was my dog was up in Tampa, Florida, with my parents. So I just rented a car and drove back to Tampa. But everybody else had to get on domestic flights and stuff too. So it was a little harder of a journey for them. And then the other guys that were not from America, um, especially for them, um, like Anthony that flew back, I think into Melbourne, and then he had to quarantine for 14 days in a hotel room before he was even allowed to travel back up to Bundaberg.
Hmm.
Um, for me, it was I got back into Miami. They didn't even check my damn bag. They just pretty much kicked me out of the airport and told me to like go home.
I
I
think
didn't have to quarantine or nothing like that. Like
I think that's
so,
I think
Amer-
hey, I think that's what they wanted.
yeah.
They
But
wanted
what do you mean? Like,
they wanted those numbers up.
oh, the COVID numbers?
Yeah, they wanted those numbers
Yeah.
up.
I
They
I
want
don't know. I
they
mean,
want that president out.
yeah. So that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down, I guess.
That's
But
that's a whole other couple of hours.
yeah, man. But
I
so
get
just going back a little bit before if we wrap this up, but yeah, I wasn't too in depth with everything on Wachuma, but basically it's like like I said, if I go back, I I can't imagine doing ayahuasca without doing Wachuma afterwards.
yeah.
Um, Wachuma in and of itself, I want to do more work with even myself. Like I've looked into it and even brewing it myself and stuff, which I don't feel intuitively is wrong. Um, I do a lot more research on it, but ayahuasca, on the other hand, I would never try and I would never try and brew myself or just do without a shaman present. In particular, like Don Robert and his family. I don't think I would ever do it in the states. I don't ever think I would do it in another country,
Mm.
or that wasn't. So one of the things of ayahuasca is like it grows all around that sanctuary. I mean, the maloca is covered in it, so the essence and spirit of the plant is there as well, and that I think has a lot to do with set and setting. And I think protects the experience itself. Like just being near the actual plant that still grows around you. So,
I can do ayahuasca around here, but I
oh
wouldn't
yeah,
go.
I can do it in a couple hours from here in Colorado. Like,
It's not the
but
same.
I just I don't trust it. I don't trust the whoever's organizing it.
It'd be a
Not
disappointment.
that
Not the real
I
deal.
just don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt. They might know a lot. They might. I mean, Don Howard Lawler was from Kentucky himself, but he started his sanctuary in Peru, and he was well learned in all this. Like, he had learned about plant medicines from his grandmother, from my understanding, and it's a totally different story there. And like he had Don Robert is the ayahuasca shaman, even when Don Howard was still alive. Don Robert is still the one. And Parker, I remember Parker saying that Don Howard even said he would never participate in an ayahuasca ceremony without Don Robert present. So
Mm.
that, I took stock in that right away. And just the experience I had my first night and how he helped me out, I take it even more into consideration. So like, it's great. I think these people that, maybe are doing it in the States or in over in your guys' states, or they might have good intentions of helping, but I just think it's something that where setting really matters. Um, Wachuma may be a little different. Wachuma is more, I think, just being in nature is important and being in a synergetic state with whoever you're with or whatever you're with. Um, but yeah, ayahuasca, it's like, I think I said it to someone once before. I was like, Wu Tang has got nothing on ayahuasca. Ayahuasca ain't nothing to fuck with. Like, so, um, so that's that, I guess. Yeah, but all in all, even with a global pandemic going on, it was a great journey. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad that so many people are interested in my friends and family. They're interested, and then I consider you a friend. We never met, but I'm glad we had this chat. Definitely, I'm super happy. I'm excited to share it with people too, because then I don't have to sit there and talk to them for a
Yeah.
couple hours.
Well,
I
I
just
mean,
be like, okay, here's
yeah.
the link. Watch. I told this guy all
No,
about it one night for 3 hours. So,
if anything
but
it comes back up, you can always jump back on and go a little bit deeper in the whole thing. So, you know,
yeah, man. I mean, like I said, the more I talk about it, the more I have realizations and what I call like, or I think Parker even called it like downloads or something. Like, I mean, it still comes to me. The medicine's always there. Um, it's it's a part of me for life now.
mm,
So, and I believe that with all my heart. So, yeah, crazy journey. I wish you
yeah,
were there, but
yeah. Well,
maybe another day, man. Like you never know. So.
so well, man. Look, thanks for sharing the experience, man. We'll wrap this up because I'm getting starving. I need to eat all this
Yeah.
fasting and talking about starving yourself just to take the medicine made me hungry. So.
What time is it over there?
So, but no, man, it was
What
good. It was good to be
what
on the.
time is
What
what
time is
time
it?
is it over there?
3:27 p.m.
Oh, okay.
What
Yeah,
time? You Saturday night, right? This is Sunday too. We're Sunday afternoon. So what
yeah,
time?
yeah.
What time is
I'm
it there?
Saturday night, 11:27 p.m. So we're good distance apart.
Yeah. My other friend is in LA and it's like 17 hours behind, which is it's bizarre when you think about it because you're like that's almost like a full day. So say minus what's my maths? So say 7. So it's like 17 hours behind, but it's 7 hours different between being a full day, and you just think obviously
Yeah.
the Earth's a ball, and you just think, but you're there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
24 hours would be a full circle, but he's like, you're just there. You're only 7 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a weird
I was
thing.
just saying this to someone else the other day because I was telling them about, you were going to talk to me today, and I'm like this a guy in Australia, and I was talking about like the concept of time zones. Still, like it baffles me a little bit. It's like because we exist
Yeah.
in the same exact time. I mean, right now is like it's right now. I'm talking to you right now in real time. Like, even
Well,
though you're in a completely different day, you're essentially you're in the future. So, um, I'm still in September 19th. You're in September 20th right now. So, but at
that's
the same time, we exist at the same exact time.
you just
So there's
behind
no so
you just behind
it's
me. Well,
just like time.
there's people out there that think that the Earth's flat as well. So if you
Yeah, yeah,
try and think about a flat Earth, and then you try and put yourself on that flat Earth,
yeah.
maybe we're
Uh-oh.
just maybe we're just in that same time. Maybe we're just in that same timeline, but just the sun's in a completely different spot. They just need to move the sun, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make
The
it doesn't make sense in this in the cosmic space and time scenario. Like it's
yeah.
bizarre.
So those are the people that probably need to do ayahuasca the most. Are the
Yeah,
flat
that's.
earthers.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just gonna hit. I'm gonna hit stop record here, but I'll just give you a little bit of a cheerio before I hit the stop button.
All
But
right.
we'll
I
wrap
just
this.
want to
So
send love to everybody out there. Everybody watches this, so
no
sending
worries.
love.
Hang on one sec. So.